Hello everyone, welcome to the What If Anime YouTube channel. Today, we are diving into an exciting new story that will take your imagination to the next level. Let's get started. What if Naruto summoned Stormbreaker in Chunin exams? The forest of death lived up to its name. Massive trees towered overhead, their canopies so thick they blotted out the sun and cast the forest floor in perpetual twilight. The air hung heavy with moisture, carrying the musty scent of decay and the faint metallic tang of blood. Creatures skidded through the underbrush, their movements sending ripples of tension through Team 7 as they made their way deeper into the second stage of the Chunin exams. Naruto Uzumaki trudged forward, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool shade. His orange jumpsuit was already smudged with dirt, his blonde hair matted against his head. The heaven scroll they'd been assigned felt heavy in his pocket, a reminder of what was at stake. "We need to find someone with an earth scroll," Sasuke muttered from beside him, dark eyes scanning the forest with calculated precision. "And we need to do it quickly," Sakura nodded, her pink hair bobbing as she adjusted her kunai holster. "The longer we're out here, the more dangerous it gets. Other teams will get desperate." Naruto opened his mouth to reply, probably something boastful about how he'd take care of everything, when a strange sensation crawled up his spine. It wasn't killing intent, which he'd felt plenty of times before. This was different, like electricity in the air before a storm. "Do you guys feel that?" he asked, blue eyes narrowing as he glanced around. Sasuke frowned. "Feel what?" Before Naruto could explain, the air in front of them shimmered. Not like a genjutsu or chakra manifestation. This was something else entirely. The space seemed to fold in on itself, creating a pocket of distortion that pulsed with energy. "Get back!" Sasuke barked, shoving Sakura behind him as he drew a kunai. Naruto stood transfixed, unable to tear his gaze away from the strange phenomenon. Within the distortion, something began to take shape, a solid object materializing from nothing. A shaft of brilliant light shot through the trees, illuminating the clearing like a bolt of lightning. When the light faded and the distortion settled, a strange object hovered in the air before them. It was an axe, but unlike any weapon Naruto had ever seen in Konoha. The handle was short, made of what looked like polished wood with intricate patterns carved into its surface. The head of the axe was massive and seemed to be crafted from some kind of metal that gleamed with an otherworldly sheen. Strange markings adorned its surface, symbols that belonged to no written language known in the shinobi world. What is that?" Sakura whispered, green eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination. Sasuke had activated his Sharingan, the red eyes with black tomos spinning as he analyzed the object. "It's not a genjutsu," he confirmed, tension evident in his voice. "That thing is really there." Naruto felt drawn to the axe in a way he couldn't explain. It called to him, like a voice only he could hear. Before he realized what he was doing, he had taken a step forward. "Naruto, don't!" Sakura hissed, reaching out to grab his sleeve. He shook her off, moving closer to the hovering weapon. "It's okay," he said, though he had no idea why he felt so certain. I think it's here for me. Don't be an idiot," Sasuke snapped. It could be a trap from another team, but Naruto wasn't listening. He stood before the axe now, close enough to see his reflection in its polished surface. The handle seemed to be at just the right height for him to grasp it. "Worthy," the word whispered through his mind, though he couldn't tell if he'd actually heard it or simply imagined it. Something about this weapon felt significant, like it carried the weight of destiny. Naruto Uzumaki had never been one to hesitate. Acting on pure instinct, he reached out and wrapped his fingers around the handle. Lightning erupted from the axe, crackling up his arm and enveloping his body in a cocoon of blue-white energy. The forest around them lit up as if day had suddenly broken, forcing Sasuke and Sakura to shield their eyes. Naruto should have felt pain. The lightning was intense enough to scorch the ground beneath his feet. But instead, a surge of power unlike anything he'd ever experienced flooded through his system. It wasn't chakra, at least not any kind he recognized. This energy felt ancient, primal, like the force of nature itself condensed into his very being. When the lightning finally subsided, Naruto stood transformed. The axe, which had been hovering moments before, now rested comfortably in his grip, as if it had always belonged there. Small arcs of electricity still danced along his skin, and his blue eyes seemed to glow with an inner light. "Naruto?" Sakura called uncertainly, lowering her arm from her face. "Are you okay?" He turned to his teammates, a grin spreading across his whiskered face. The axe felt perfectly balanced in his hand, somehow both incredibly heavy and impossibly light at the same time. "I'm better than okay," he replied, his voice carrying a new confidence that surprised even him. "I think I just got a serious upgrade." Sasuke's eyes narrowed, his Sharingan still active as he studied both Naruto and the weapon. "What is that thing? And what did it do to you?" Before Naruto could respond, a rustle in the underbrush caught their attention. 3 ninja emerged from the shadows, wearing headbands marked with the symbol of the Hidden Rain Village. Their leader, a tall shinobi with a rebreather mask and dead eyes, stepped forward with a predatory smile. Well, looks like we found some Leaf Village brats," he sneered, twirling a kunai between his fingers. "Hand over your scroll, and we might let you live." Sasuke shifted into a fighting stance, and Sakura drew her own kunai, though fear flashed across her face. Naruto, however, felt strangely calm as he hefted the axe in his hand. "You guys picked the wrong team to mess with," he stated simply, the axe beginning to hum with energy in response to his rising emotions. The Rain Ninja laughed. "What are you going to do with that oversized toy? You can barely lift it, kid." Naruto's smile widened, becoming almost feral. The power surging through him begged for release, and he was more than happy to oblige. "I'm going to show you exactly what I can do with it," he replied as the air around him began to crackle with electricity. The axe, Stormbreaker, though Naruto didn't yet know its name, vibrated in anticipation, as if eager to prove the worth of its new wielder. The Chunin exams had just taken a turn that no one, least of all Naruto himself, could have predicted. And somewhere, in a realm far beyond the forests of death, beyond even the shinobi world itself, someone, or something, was watching with great interest. The Rain Ninja moved first, a coordinated attack that spoke of hours spent training together. The leader flung 3 kunai in quick succession, while his teammates weaved hand signs for what looked like a water jutsu. In the past, Naruto might have responded with shadow clones or a hastily executed substitution jutsu. But with Stormbreaker in his grip, instinct took over. Instinct that seemed to come from the axe itself. He swung the weapon in a wide arc, and the air before him distorted. The kunai struck an invisible barrier, and clattered harmlessly to the ground. The Rain Ninja's eyes widened in shock. "What the?" the leader began, but Naruto didn't give him time to finish. With a shout that was half battle cry and half exhilaration, Naruto charged forward. The axe felt like an extension of his arm, guiding his movements with a fluidity he never experienced before. When he swung it at the first Rain Ninja, he expected the man to dodge or block. Instead, the ninja was sent flying through the air as if struck by a battering ram, crashing through a tree trunk before coming to rest nearly 30 feet away, unconscious or worse. Naruto stared at his hand, then at the axe, then at the destroyed tree. "Whoa!" The remaining 2 Rain Ninja hesitated, exchanging nervous glances. The confidence that had oozed from them moments ago evaporated like morning dew. "This is your chance to leave," Sasuke called out, stepping up beside Naruto. His tone made it clear this was the only warning they would get. The shorter of the 2 Rain Ninja reached slowly into his pouch. "We have an Earth Scroll," he said, producing the item as proof. "Take it. Just let us go." Sakura approached cautiously, accepting the scroll while keeping a wary eye on the Rain Ninja. Once it was in her possession, she backed away to stand with her teammates. "Go check on your friend," Naruto said, nodding toward the fallen ninja. "And next time, think twice before threatening people." The Rain Ninja didn't need to be told twice. They retrieved their unconscious companion and disappeared into the forest, casting fearful glances back at Naruto and his strange weapon. When they were gone, Sakura turned to Naruto with wide eyes. "That was incredible. How did you do that?" Naruto looked down at the axe, still humming faintly with power. "I'm not really sure. It's like the axe knows what to do, and I'm just following its lead." Sasuke studied the weapon with unconcealed interest. "May I?" he asked, reaching out a hand. Naruto hesitated. Something told him that Stormbreaker wouldn't respond the same way to Sasuke, but he couldn't explain why. Still, Sasuke was his teammate, so he held out the axe. As soon as Sasuke's fingers brushed the handle, a jolt of electricity sparked between them. Sasuke jerked his hand back with a hiss of pain, shaking his fingers to dispel the sting. "It shocked me," he said, a mixture of confusion and annoyance crossing his features. "Sorry!" Naruto exclaimed. "I didn't mean for that to happen." Sasuke's eyes narrowed slightly, but he nodded. "It's fine. It seems the weapon has chosen you specifically." He didn't sound entirely pleased about this fact. Sakura, always the analytical one, examined the axe without touching it. "These markings, they don't look like anything I've studied. And the metal isn't like anything I've seen before either." She tilted her head, brow furrowed in concentration. "Naruto, when you hold it, do you feel anything strange? Besides the obvious power boost, I mean." Naruto considered the question. "It's like, it's alive somehow. Not in a creepy way, but more like it has its own will. And there's this energy flowing through it that feels ancient and powerful." "Interesting," Sakura mused. "We should probably get moving though. That fight might have attracted attention from other teams." Sasuke nodded in agreement. "Now that we have both scrolls, we should head straight for the tower. The sooner we're out of this forest, the better." As they traveled, Naruto experimented with his new weapon. He discovered that he could call lightning from clear skies, channel it through the axe, and direct it with surprising precision. When they encountered a massive tiger, one of the Forest of Death's native predators, a single strike from Stormbreaker sent the beast fleeing in terror. What Naruto couldn't know was that his sudden acquisition of Stormbreaker hadn't gone unnoticed. In the tower at the center of the forest, the proctors monitoring the exam through various means had detected the surge of unfamiliar energy. And in a hidden chamber beneath the tower, Orochimaru paused in his preparations, yellow snake-like eyes widening at the disturbance he'd sensed. "How interesting," he hissed, a forked tongue briefly flicking out to taste the air. "It seems there's a new player on the board. One I hadn't anticipated." His original plan had been simple. Mark Sasuke Uchiha with his curse seal and plant the seeds for the boy's eventual defection from Konoha. But now, something had changed. A new power had entered the equation, one that even he, with all his forbidden knowledge, couldn't immediately identify. "Perhaps I should pay a visit to these leaf genins sooner rather than later," he murmured, his pale fingers tracing the edge of a scroll containing the disguise jutsu he would use. The Uchiha boy might not be the only prize worth claiming. Back in the forest, Team 7 continued their journey, unaware that their path to the tower would soon cross with one of the most dangerous shinobi the ninja world had ever known. And when that happened, Naruto's newfound power would face its first true test. The axe seemed to sense this too, the humming in Naruto's hand intensifying as they drew closer to the tower, and closer to destiny. The afternoon stretched on as Team 7 navigated the treacherous terrain of the Forest of Death. Naruto walked with a newfound confidence, Stormbreaker resting on his shoulder. Occasionally, he would twirl it in his hand, marveling at how the massive weapon now felt as light as a kunai. "We should take a break," Sakura suggested, wiping sweat from her brow. "We've been moving non-stop since that encounter with the rain ninja." Sasuke scanned their surroundings before nodding. "There's a small clearing ahead. We can rest there for 15 minutes, but then we keep moving." They settled in the clearing, Sakura pulling out their water containers while Sasuke took up a position where he could monitor their perimeter. Naruto sat cross-legged, the axe laid across his lap, his fingers tracing the intricate patterns on its surface. "Have you figured out what else it can do?" Sakura asked, handing him a water container. Naruto took a long drink before answering. "Not everything. But watch this." He closed his eyes, concentrating on the weapon. When he opened them again, he lifted Stormbreaker and channeled a small amount of chakra into it. The axe responded immediately, crackling with energy. With a flick of his wrist, Naruto sent a bolt of lightning into a nearby tree, scorching a perfect circle into its trunk. "That's incredible," Sakura gasped. "Your chakra control has never been that precise before." "It's not just me," Naruto explained, his expression unusually thoughtful. "It's like the axe knows what I want to do and helps me do it better." Sasuke had been watching the demonstration with his Sharingan active. The energy isn't pure chakra, he observed. There's something else mixed in, something I've never seen before. A sudden rustle in the trees silenced their conversation. All three Chunin tensed, ready for another confrontation. The disturbance grew louder, and then a single-leaf ninja stumbled into the clearing. A kunoichi with long dark hair and a pale face. "Help!" she gasped, clutching her side. "My team there," Sakura rushed forward. "Are you hurt? What happened to your team?" The kunoichi looked up, and suddenly her face seemed to melt, stretching and tearing to reveal another visage beneath, one with yellow snake-like eyes, purple markings, and a smile that sent chills down their spines. "They're not coming," Orochimaru purred, his true form revealed as he cast aside the disguise. "And neither will help." Sasuke and Sakura leapt back, kunai drawn. Naruto gripped Stormbreaker tightly, the axe humming with agitation as if it recognized the threat before them. "Who are you?" Sasuke demanded, his Sharingan spinning faster. Orochimaru's gaze moved from Sasuke to Naruto, lingering on the strange weapon in the blonde boy's hands. "Originally, I came for the last Uchiha," he said, voice silky and dangerous. "But it seems there's something even more intriguing to investigate first." With blinding speed, Orochimaru lunged, not at Sasuke, as they might have expected, but directly at Naruto. The attack was so swift that even Sasuke's Sharingan barely tracked it, but Stormbreaker reacted. The axe pulled Naruto's arm up, blocking Orochimaru's strike with its broad side. The impact sent shockwaves through the clearing, uprooting smaller plants and stirring up a cloud of dust. "Fascinating," Orochimaru hissed, leaping back to reassess. "The weapon moves of its own accord, guiding its wielder." "Where did you find such a treasure, boy?" Naruto didn't answer. Instead, he charged forward, Stormbreaker leading the way. He swung the axe in a wide arc, electricity crackling along its edge. Orochimaru dodged with inhuman flexibility, his body contorting in ways that defied natural anatomy. "Sasuke, Sakura, get back!" Naruto shouted, continuing his assault. "This guy is way beyond Chunin level." Orochimaru laughed, the sound echoing unnaturally through the forest. "Perceptive. Indeed, I am something altogether different." His neck suddenly elongated, stretching across the distance between them like a striking snake. His teeth, now elongated into fangs, aimed for Naruto's shoulder. But Stormbreaker intervened again, its handle smashing into Orochimaru's jaw with a sickening crack. The Sannin recoiled, spitting blood. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. "That weapon, it protects you." "You're damn right it does," Naruto growled, feeling a surge of power as Stormbreaker resonated with his anger. "And it's about to do a lot more than that." He raised the axe skyward, and despite the canopy overhead, lightning answered his call. It pierced through the trees, striking Stormbreaker's head before Naruto directed it straight at Orochimaru. The snake Sannin's eyes widened a fraction before he performed a substitution jutsu, the lightning obliterating the log he left behind. The explosive force of the attack cleared a 30-foot radius, leaving a scorched circle of earth where lush forest had been moments before. Sasuke seized the opportunity to launch his own attack, hands flashing through science faster than Naruto had ever seen him move. Fire style. Phoenix Flower Jutsu. Multiple fireballs shot toward where Orochimaru had reappeared, but the Sannin simply opened his mouth impossibly wide and released a powerful gust of wind that extinguished the flames. "Impressive teamwork," Orochimaru commented, sounding genuinely amused. "But let's see how you handle this." He bit his thumb, drawing blood, and slammed his palm to the ground. Summoning Jutsu. A massive snake appeared in a cloud of smoke, its body as thick as a tree trunk, scales gleaming in the dappled light. It hissed, fork-tongue tasting the air before its yellow eyes fixed on the three Chunin. "Devour them," Orochimaru commanded. "But bring me the blonde one alive. I want that weapon." The snake lunged, jaws unhinging to reveal rows of curved fangs. Sakura screamed, diving out of the way. Sasuke leapt to higher ground, already preparing another jutsu. But Naruto stood his ground, Stormbreaker held before him. Time seemed to slow as the axe whispered to him, not in words, but in pure instinct. Naruto knew exactly what to do. He spun Stormbreaker in a circular motion, faster and faster until it became a blur. The air around him began to churn, forming a vortex that grew in strength with each revolution. The snake, still lunging forward, suddenly found itself caught in the whirlwind, its massive body lifted off the ground and thrown back. What? Orochimaru hissed in disbelief as his summon crashed into the trees behind him, crushing several in its descent. Naruto didn't stop. The vortex continued to grow, now drawing in debris from the forest floor, branches, rocks, even smaller uprooted trees. The maelstrom surrounded him like armor, a shield of nature's fury. With a shout that came from somewhere deep within, Naruto thrust Stormbreaker forward, and the vortex surged toward Orochimaru. The Sannin's hands blurred through signs, erecting an earth wall that the storm tore through like paper. For the first time since the confrontation began, Orochimaru looked concerned. He couldn't substitute fast enough to avoid the brunt of Naruto's attack. The vortex caught him, cutting into his flesh with the debris it carried, before slamming him into a massive tree trunk. The forest fell silent as the winds died down. Naruto stood panting, Stormbreaker still humming with energy in his hands. Sasuke and Sakura stared at him in shock, unable to process what they just witnessed. But Orochimaru wasn't defeated. The body pinned to the tree suddenly liquefied, melting into mud, an earth clone. The real Orochimaru emerged from the ground several yards away, his robes tattered, blood trickling from several cuts on his face and arms. "I've lived a long time," he said, his voice no longer playful but cold with calculation. "I've seen weapons of immense power, artifacts that could level mountains and raise the dead. But nothing quite like what you hold, Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto tensed, surprised that the stranger knew his name. "Oh yes, I know who you are," Orochimaru continued, reading his expression. "The village pariah, container of the nine-tailed fox. But now you've become something else entirely, something that bears further investigation." His gaze shifted to Sasuke. "And you, last of the Uchiha. So much potential, yet still so far from what you could become. What you will become under my guidance. We're not going anywhere with you." Sasuke spat, kunai held defensively before him. Orochimaru smiled, the expression devoid of warmth. "Perhaps not today. I see that I've underestimated the situation. That axe is no mere tool. It's chosen your friend as its wielder." "Interesting." He took a step back, sinking partially into the ground. "We will meet again, Sasuke Uchiha. And you as well, Naruto Uzumaki. I look forward to learning the full extent of your new powers." Before any of them could react, Orochimaru disappeared into the earth, leaving only disturbed soil to mark where he'd stood. Sakura rushed to check on her teammates. "Are you both okay? Who was that? What did he want?" "I don't know," Sasuke said grimly, deactivating his Sharingan to conserve chakra. "But he was far too powerful to be a genin. He wasn't even trying his hardest against us." Naruto lowered Stormbreaker, feeling the adrenaline drain from his system. "He wanted this," he said, looking down at the axe. "And he knew about the nine tails inside me." Sakura's eyes widened. The nine tails was a subject rarely discussed openly, especially around Naruto. How could he know that? It's supposed to be a village secret. "I don't think he's just anyone," Sasuke replied, scanning the forest warily. "We need to get to the tower immediately. Whatever his plans are, I doubt he's given up on them." As they gathered themselves to continue their journey, Naruto felt Stormbreaker pulse in his grip, almost like a heartbeat. It had protected him, guided him, enabled him to fight off someone far beyond his skill level. But why had it come to him? And what did it mean for his future? These questions would have to wait. For now, they needed to reach safety and report what had happened. The Chunin exams had just become far more dangerous than any of them could have imagined, and as they moved through the forest with renewed urgency, none of them noticed the small white snake watching from the branches overhead, its eyes reflecting an intelligence that no ordinary reptile should possess. The central tower loomed before them, a stark stone structure rising from the heart of the forest of death. Team 7 approached cautiously, exhaustion evident in their sluggish movements. The encounter with Orochimaru had drained them physically and mentally, leaving them on high alert for any further threats. "We made it," Sakura breathed, relief washing over her face as they reached the entrance. Sasuke remained vigilant, his eyes scanning their surroundings one final time before nodding toward the door. Let's get inside. Naruto followed, Stormbreaker a comforting weight in his hand. The axe had been relatively quiet since the battle with Orochimaru, its energy subdued but present. Like an animal resting after a hunt, the interior of the tower was cool and dimly lit. A large inscription decorated the wall facing the entrance, a riddle about heaven and earth that Sakura quickly deduced related to their scrolls. We opened them together, she explained, retrieving the earth scroll while Sasuke produced the heaven scroll. They unrolled the scrolls simultaneously, tossing them to the floor when they began to smoke and glow. A summoning jutsu activated, and with a puff of chakra smoke, Iruka-sensei appeared before them. Congratulations on, he began, but stopped short when he saw their bedraggled condition. His eyes widened further when he noticed the strange weapon in Naruto's grip. What happened to you three? And what is that, Naruto? Before they could answer, a voice called from an adjoining hallway. Iruka, bring them here immediately. It was the third Hokage himself, his tone grave. Iruka nodded, gesturing for Team 7 to follow him. Come with me. It seems the Hokage wants to speak with you personally. They were led to a private chamber where the third waited, along with several Jonin including Kakashi, Anko Mitarashi, and 2 ANBU operatives lurking in the shadows. Report, the Hokage commanded, his aged eyes sharp beneath the brim of his hat. Sasuke stepped forward, giving a concise account of their encounter with Orochimaru. He explained how the snake Sannin had initially targeted him, but became interested in Naruto after seeing Stormbreaker in action. Throughout the recounting, the third's expression grew increasingly troubled. When Sasuke finished, the old man turned his attention to Naruto and the axe he still clutched. And this weapon, he said, gesturing to Stormbreaker. Where did you acquire it? Naruto shifted uncomfortably under the scrutiny of so many high-ranking shinobi. It kind of appeared, I guess. There was this weird distortion in the air, and then it was just there, floating. When I touched it, there was lightning, and then it was like we were connected. May I examine it? The Hokage asked, extending a weathered hand. Naruto hesitated, remembering how Stormbreaker had rejected Sasuke. I'm not sure if it will let you, GG. It shocked Sasuke when he tried to hold it. The third raised an eyebrow but withdrew his hand. I see. Perhaps it would be best if you demonstrated its capabilities instead. In a controlled environment, of course. Kakashi stepped forward, his visible eye fixed on Naruto with unusual intensity. The preliminary matches for the final round of the Chunin exams are scheduled to begin tomorrow. That should provide an adequate opportunity for observation. Agreed? The Hokage nodded. In the meantime, you three will rest and recover. You've earned your place in the preliminaries, but after an encounter with Orochimaru, I want you checked by our medical team. He turned to Anko. Increase security throughout the tower and surrounding forest. If Orochimaru is indeed present, we must be prepared for further incursions. As the adults discussed security measures, Naruto found himself staring at Stormbreaker. In the fluorescent lighting of the tower, the axe's metallic surface seemed to shimmer with hidden depths, the strange markings almost moving if he looked at them from the corner of his eye. What are you? He wondered silently. And why did you choose me? To his astonishment, he received a response, not in words, but in a series of impressions that flashed through his mind. Lightning striking barren earth, a tree growing from the scorched soil, a hammer falling upon a star, and finally, a bearded face looking upon him with approval. Naruto gasped, the vivid images fading as quickly as they had appeared. No one else seemed to notice his reaction except Kakashi, whose eye narrowed slightly. Naruto, the Jonin called, breaking away from the larger group. A word. They moved to a corner of the room, just out of earshot of the others. That weapon, Kakashi began without preamble. It's affecting your chakra network in ways I can see even without a Sharingan. The energy signature is unfamiliar. Naruto nodded, not surprised that Kakashi had noticed. It feels different from chakra. Older somehow. More primal. Be careful. Kakashi warned, his usual lazy demeanor replaced with genuine concern. Power that comes suddenly often has a price. I've seen what happens to shinobi who gain abilities they don't fully understand. It's not like that, Naruto insisted, gripping Stormbreaker tighter. The axe isn't trying to control me or corrupt me. It's more like, it's chosen me because it thinks I'm worthy. Worthy of what? Naruto looked down at the weapon, remembering the impressions it had shared. I'm not sure yet. But I think I'm going to find out soon. Kakashi studied him for a long moment before sighing. Just promise me you'll be cautious. And if anything changes, if you feel anything strange or see anything unusual, you come to me immediately. Understood? I promise, Kakashi-sensei. The Jonin nodded, seemingly satisfied for now, and rejoined the other adults. Team 7 was eventually escorted to a medical bay where their injuries were treated, then shown to quarters where they could rest until the preliminaries the next day. Sasuke and Naruto shared a room, while Sakura was given accommodations with other female competitors who had already arrived. As night fell over the forest of death, Naruto lay awake in his bunk, Stormbreaker propped against the wall beside him. Sasuke appeared to be sleeping, his breathing deep and regular. In the stillness, Naruto found himself replaying the events of the day, the strange appearance of the axe, the battle with Orochimaru, the visions Stormbreaker had shared with him. None of it made sense, yet somehow it all felt right, as if he'd been waiting for this moment his entire life without knowing it. I know you're awake. Sasuke's voice cut through the darkness, startling Naruto. I can practically hear you thinking. Naruto turned to face his teammate. Sorry. Just trying to process everything. There was a pause and then, that power you showed against Orochimaru. It wasn't like anything I've seen before. Not even from Jonin. Was that envy in Sasuke's tone? It was hard to tell in the darkness. It wasn't really me, Naruto admitted. It was mostly Stormbreaker, but the axe chose you, Sasuke pointed out. It rejected me when I tried to touch it. There must be a reason for that. Naruto had no answer. The question had been haunting him as well. Why him? Why not Sasuke, who was called a genius, or Sakura with her perfect chakra control? Whatever the reason. Sasuke continued when Naruto didn't respond. You should be prepared for tomorrow. Word about that weapon will spread quickly. You'll become a target. I'm always a target. Naruto mumbled, thinking of the Nine Tails and how it had shaped his life thus far. This is different, Sasuke insisted. Before, people underestimated you. Now they'll fear you. Use that to your advantage. The conversation lapsed into silence after that, but Naruto remained awake for hours, contemplating Sasuke's words and the changes that Stormbreaker had already brought to his life. When he finally drifted off to sleep, his dreams were filled with lightning and thunder, the crash of waves against rocky shores, and a rainbow bridge stretching across an endless void to a golden city that gleamed like the sun. And watching over it all, a single eye, ancient and all-seeing, following his journey with keen interest. Morning broke over the tower with a thunderous sky that mirrored the tension building within. Genin teams who had survived the forest of death gathered in the massive central arena, their faces etched with exhaustion and determination. The air hummed with anticipation as the third Hokage stood before them, his weathered face solemn beneath the shadow of his hat. Naruto fidgeted beside his teammates, acutely aware of the stares directed his way, or more accurately, at Stormbreaker. Word had spread like wildfire throughout the tower about the strange weapon, and how it had supposedly helped a genin fend off an S-rank missing Nin. Some of the stories had grown comically exaggerated. Naruto overheard one rain ninja claiming he'd summoned a hurricane that devoured half the forest. Stop squirming, Sasuke muttered under his breath. You're drawing more attention, like I can help it. Naruto shot back, tightening his grip on Stormbreaker. The axe thrummed faintly against his palm, as if sharing his excitement. Everyone's staring anyway, Sakura nudged him with her elbow. The Hokage's about to speak. Pay attention. Sure enough, the third cleared his throat, silencing the murmurs that rippled through the gathered genin. Congratulations to all who have reached this stage of the Chunin exams, he began, his voice carrying easily through the arena despite its soft tone. You have proven your survival skills and your ability to complete missions under duress. However, too many teams have qualified for the final tournament. He gestured to a massive electronic screen mounted high on the wall. Therefore, we will hold preliminary matches to reduce the number of competitors. These one-on-one battles will determine who proceeds to the finals, which will be held 1 month from now before the lords and leaders of our allied nations. A collective tension gripped the room. One-on-one battles meant no teammates to rely on, no backup plans except their own abilities. The matches will be randomly determined. The third continued, and will continue until one competitor is unable to continue or concedes. Our proctor, Hate Gecko, will oversee these preliminaries. A sickly-looking Jonin stepped forward, his complexion pallid beneath the shadows of deep-set eyes. He coughed into his fist before addressing the genin. The electronic board will display the names of the first 2 competitors. Hate explained, his voice raspy. Those selected will remain on the floor. Everyone else will proceed to the viewing balconies. As if on cue, the screen flickered to life, names flashing rapidly before settling on the first match. Sasuke Uchiha vs Yoro Akado. Sasuke's face remained impassive, but Naruto noticed the slight tensing of his shoulders. The rest of the genin filed toward the stairs, leaving Sasuke and his opponent on the arena floor. Good luck, Naruto called over his shoulder. Don't lose before I get my shot at you. A ghost of a smile touched Sasuke's lips. Worry about yourself, loser. From the balcony, Naruto watched the match unfold with growing concern. Sasuke seemed off, his movements slower than usual, his attacks lacking their typical precision. When Yoro managed to grab him and begin draining his chakra, Sasuke's face contorted with pain that went beyond the technique itself. Something's wrong with him, Naruto murmured to Sakura. He's fighting weird. She nodded, green eyes narrowed with worry. It might be from our encounter with Orochimaru. Sasuke took a hit that he didn't tell the medical mean about. Despite his struggles, Sasuke ultimately prevailed, adapting Lee's taijutsu into a devastating combo he called the Lion's Barrage. As medics carried away the unconscious Yoroi, Sasuke staggered toward the stairs, clutching his shoulder where Orochimaru had struck him. Kakashi intercepted him before he could reach the balcony, leaning in to whisper something that made Sasuke's eyes widen. The two disappeared in a swirl of leaves, leaving Naruto and Sakura exchanging concerned glances. What was that about? Naruto wondered aloud. Before Sakura could respond, the screen flickered again, displaying the next match. Shino Aburame vs Sakurabumi. The matches continued, each showcasing the diverse talents and techniques of the various villages. Shino's strategic use of his insects defeated the sound ninja's Zaku in a display of cold efficiency. Kankuro from the Sand Village revealed his puppetry skills, while his teammate Temari demonstrated devastating wind techniques. Throughout it all, Naruto felt Stormbreaker growing increasingly restless in his grip, as if eager for its turn in battle. The axe's subtle vibrations intensified whenever a particularly powerful technique was used, almost like it was analyzing each fighter. Naruto, Sakura whispered during Ino's match with her. Your axe is glowing. He glanced down to find she was right. A faint blue luminescence outlined the strange markings on Stormbreaker's head, pulsing like a heartbeat. As he focused on it, the electronic board chimed once more. Naruto Uzumaki vs Kiba Inuzuka. A wolfish grin spread across Kiba's face from across the balcony. Finally! He crowed, Akamaru yipping excitedly at his feet. Let's go, boy! We've got this in the bag. Naruto rolled his shoulders, adrenaline surging through his system as he made his way down to the arena floor. Stormbreaker's weight felt perfect in his hand, its glow subsiding but its energy still palpable. Hate looked between the two competitors, his gaze lingering on the strange axe in Naruto's grip. The same rules apply, he stated after a brief cough. The match continues until one of you is unable to continue or surrenders. He raised his hand, then dropped it sharply. Begin! Kiba wasted no time, dropping into a feral crouch as he formed a hand sign. Beast Mimicry, All Force Jutsu! His nails lengthened into claws, his features becoming more animalistic as chakra enhanced his speed and strength. Let's show him what we've got, Akamaru! The small white dog leapt onto his back, transformed into a clone of Kiba with a puff of smoke, and then both launched themselves at Naruto with dizzying speed. Farm over farm! The twin cyclones of claws and teeth bore down on Naruto, who stood his ground. Stormbreaker held defensively before him. At the last possible second, The axe guided his movements, and he pivoted to the side, letting the dual attack spiral past him. Too slow, dog breath. Naruto taunted, but Kiba and Akamaru were already adjusting their trajectory, coming around for another pass. This time, Naruto swung Stormbreaker in a wide arc. The weapon connected with the spinning duo, a thunderous crack reverberating through the arena as Kiba and Akamaru were thrown in opposite directions. Kiba crashed into the wall, while Akamaru tumbled across the floor, the transformation dispelling on impact. Stunned silence fell over the spectators. Kiba struggled to his feet, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead, his eyes wide with disbelief. "What the hell kind of weapon is that?" he growled, wiping the blood from his face. "That's not a normal axe," Naruto grinned, twirling Stormbreaker casually. "Nope. It's definitely not normal. Want to find out what else it can do?" From the balcony, eyes narrowed in calculation. Gaara of the Sand watched with arms crossed, his expression unreadable but his aura radiating interest. Niji Hyuga had activated his Byakugan, studying the chakra flow between Naruto and the weapon with intense scrutiny. And in a shadowed corner, disguised as a sound village jonin, Orochimaru observed with a hungry smile playing at the corners of his lips. Kiba reached into his pouch, withdrawing a small pill which he tossed to Akamaru. "Soldier pill," he explained as the dog's fur turned red, its energy visibly spiking. "Now we'll show you what we're really capable of." Akamaru leapt onto his back once more, transforming again as Kiba formed a different hand sign. "Let's go, Akamaru!" Beast human clone, double-headed wolf. In a burst of chakra and smoke, a massive two-headed wolf stood where Kiba and Akamaru had been, its fur bristling, saliva dripping from both sets of razor-sharp teeth. The transformation radiated raw power, the creature easily twice Naruto's height. "That's more like it," Naruto murmured, feeling Stormbreaker respond to the challenge, the axe humming with anticipation. The wolf beast roared and lunged, its massive paws tearing up the arena floor as it charged. Naruto felt time slow as Stormbreaker's energy flowed through him, enhancing his perception. He sidestepped the initial charge, but the wolf was more agile than its size suggested, spinning to catch him with a massive paw. The impact sent Naruto flying, Stormbreaker nearly slipping from his grasp as he crashed into the far wall. Pain exploded across his back, and he tasted blood where he'd bitten his cheek. "Naruto!" Sakura's concerned shout cut through the ringing in his ears. The wolf beast stalked toward him, both heads growling in triumph. "Give up, Naruto!" Kiba's voice emerged from the right head, distorted by the transformation. "That fancy axe won't save you now." Naruto pushed himself to his feet, spitting blood onto the floor. A strange calm settled over him as he met the wolf's gaze, Stormbreaker suddenly lighter than air in his grip. "You know," he said conversationally, "I just realized something. I've been treating Stormbreaker like a regular weapon, swinging it around, blocking with it. But it's so much more than that." The axe began to glow again, brighter this time, arcs of electricity dancing along its edge. Naruto could feel it guiding him, showing him possibilities he hadn't considered before. "What are you babbling about?" Kiba growled, the wolf beast tensing for another attack. Naruto smiled, raising Stormbreaker above his head. "I'm talking about this." He brought the axe down hard against the arena floor. The impact sent a shockwave of energy rippling outward in a perfect circle, the ground buckling and cracking in its wake. The wolf beast stumbled as the floor beneath its paws heaved and shattered. Taking advantage of the momentary disruption, Naruto charged, Stormbreaker trailing lightning in its path. The axe connected with the wolf's flank, electricity coursing through the beast's body. With a howl of pain, the transformation dispelled, leaving Kiba and Akamaru sprawled across the broken arena floor. Akamaru whimpered, his small body twitching from the residual electricity. Kiba managed to push himself to his knees, his face a mask of pain and disbelief. What are you?" he gasped, staring at Naruto with wide eyes. Naruto lowered Stormbreaker, his expression softening as he saw the genuine fear in his fellow Leaf Ninja's face. "I'm still just Naruto," he said. "Just with some new enhancements." Hate stepped forward, surveying the scene with raised eyebrows. When it became clear that Kiba could not continue, he raised his hand. "Winner Naruto Uzumaki." A stunned silence hung over the arena for a heartbeat before scattered applause broke out, punctuated by excited murmurs. Naruto offered a hand to Kiba, who hesitated before accepting it, allowing Naruto to pull him to his feet. "That's some weapon you've got," Kiba said, wincing as he retrieved Akamaru. "Next time we fight, I'll be ready for it." Naruto nodded, respect blooming for the Inuzuka's resilience. Looking forward to it. As medical ninja attended to Kiba and Akamaru, Naruto made his way back to the balcony, acutely aware of the changed atmosphere. Gone were the dismissive glances and underestimating sneers. Now the other competitors watched him with wary calculation, reassessing the dead last of the academy in light of his performance. "That was amazing, Naruto!" Sakura exclaimed as he rejoined her. "The way you used the axe to create that shockwave. I've never seen anything like it." "Me neither," Naruto admitted with a sheepish grin. "It kind of just showed me how to do it in the moment." "It showed you?" Her brow furrowed. "You mean you can communicate with it?" Before he could respond, a presence loomed behind them. Naruto turned to find Gaara standing uncomfortably close, his pale green eyes fixed on Stormbreaker with unnerving intensity. "That weapon," Gaara said, his voice flat yet somehow filled with suppressed emotion. "It contains power similar to what I carry, yet different." "Older," Naruto tensed, instinctively gripping Stormbreaker tighter. There was something about the sand ninja that set him on edge, a familiar aura of contained chaos that reminded him too much of the times he'd felt the Nine Tails stirring within himself. "What do you mean, similar to what you carry?" Naruto asked carefully. Gaara's eyes shifted from the axe to Naruto's face, and a cold smile that didn't beach his eyes curved his lips. "You'll find out soon enough. Mother is interested in your blood now." With that cryptic statement, he turned and walked away, leaving Naruto and Sakura exchanging troubled glances. "That guy gives me the creeps," Sakura whispered. Naruto nodded in agreement, but his thoughts were elsewhere. Gaara had sensed something about Stormbreaker, something that connected to whatever he carried. Was he another Jinchuriki like Naruto? And if so, what did that mean for their inevitable confrontation? The electronic board flickered again, displaying the next match. As the preliminaries continued, Naruto found himself watching with new eyes, analyzing each fighter not as potential rivals but as future opponents. With Stormbreaker's power came a new responsibility, and the growing certainty that this was only the beginning of a much larger story. In the Hokage's private viewing box, the third turned to Jiraiya, who had arrived discreetly during Naruto's match. "Your thoughts?" The Toad Sage stroked his chin, his usually jovial expression replaced with rare seriousness. "That weapon isn't from our world, Sensei. Its chakra signature, if you can even call it chakra, is unlike anything I've encountered in all my travels. Yet it seems to have chosen Naruto specifically." The third mused. "I wonder why." Jiraiya's gaze lingered on his godson, pride and concern warring in his eyes. The boy's always been special. Maybe it recognized that, or maybe, the Hokage said softly, it recognized what he contains. The implication hung heavy between them, either willing to voice the possibility that some unknown force might be targeting the Nine Tails through its Jinchuriki. As the day wore on and the preliminaries continued, storm clouds gathered over Konoha, distant thunder echoing the battles raging within the tower. And somewhere far beyond the ninja world, across dimensions and realities, someone took notice of the power that had slipped between worlds. A power that was never meant to fall into mortal hands. The storm was coming, and Naruto Uzumaki stood at its center, unaware that his journey with Stormbreaker had only just begun. Billions of light years away, in a realm where the stars themselves appeared as mere specks beneath golden spires, a one-eyed figure stood upon a crystal dais. Heimdall, the all-seeing guardian of Asgard, shifted his gaze through the cosmos, past innumerable worlds and civilizations, until it rested upon a small planet where chakra flowed like rivers through the land and its inhabitants. His golden eyes narrowed, focusing on a specific point, a boy with some bright hair and a weapon that should not exist in that realm. "So that's where it went," he murmured, his deep voice echoing in the empty observatory. Heimdall turned, his golden armor glinting in the light of distant stars as he strode purposefully across the rainbow bridge toward the shining city of Asgard. The loss of Stormbreaker had not gone unnoticed, though its disappearance had been sudden and inexplicable even to his far-seeing eyes. Now that he had located it, there were those who needed to know. The throne room of Asgard was imposingly vast, its ceiling so high it seemed to merge with the cosmos above. Seated upon a golden throne at the far end was Odin Allfather, ruler of the 9 realms, his one eye sharp as it fell upon his approaching sentinel. Heimdall, Odin acknowledged with a slight nod. What news brings you from your post? The guardian bowed his head respectfully before meeting the king's gaze. I have found Stormbreaker, my king, a murmur rippled through the assembled courtiers and warriors. Thor, standing at his father's right hand, stepped forward, his face a mask of surprise and confusion. Stormbreaker? But how could it be lost? It rests in the weapons vault, does it not? Heimdall shook his head. No, my prince. The axe has somehow traversed the boundaries between realms without the aid of the Bifrost or any magic known to Asgard. It now resides in the hands of a mortal boy on a world far from our 9 realms. A world where energy flows differently, shaped by what they call chakra. Thor's brow furrowed. A mortal wields Stormbreaker? This shouldn't be possible. The weapon was forged to be wielded only by those worthy of the power of Thor. And yet, Heimdall replied, this boy not only touches it without being destroyed but channels its power as if born to it. There is something unusual about this mortal. He contains a powerful entity within himself, and bears a burden not unlike your own responsibilities, Prince Thor. Odin rose from his throne, Gungnir in hand, his single eye gleaming with ancient wisdom and concern. Show me this boy, Heimdall. The guardian raised his hand, and the air before them shimmered, forming a window through space and time. Within the portal, they saw Naruto standing in the arena, Stormbreaker glowing with electricity as he faced down a massive 2-headed wolf. The boy's name is Naruto Uzumaki, Heimdall explained. His world is one of warriors who manipulate their internal energy to perform feats similar to our magic. He contains within him a powerful entity known as the 9-tailed fox, sealed there by his father at the cost of his life. Thor watched with growing interest as Naruto brought Stormbreaker down, creating a shockwave that cracked the very ground beneath his opponent. He has spirit, the thunder god acknowledged with a hint of approval. And Stormbreaker responds to him as it would to an Asgardian. This is troubling, Odin said, his voice grave. Stormbreaker is not meant for mortal hands, no matter how special this boy may be. Its power could destroy him and his world if not properly controlled. He turned to Thor. My son, you must retrieve the axe. Journey to this world and reclaim what belongs to Asgard before catastrophe occurs. Thor bowed his head in acknowledgement, but hesitation flickered across his features. And the boy? What of him? Odin's expression softened slightly. Observe him first. If he is truly worthy enough for Stormbreaker to accept him, then perhaps there is more to this than a simple misplacement of power. The Norns work in mysterious ways, and it may be that this boy has a role to play in events beyond even my foresight. I will depart at once, Thor declared, already turning toward the door. Thor, Odin called after him, causing his son to pause. Remember that this world operates under different rules than our own. Their power, chakra, as they call it, is not so different from our magic in essence, but their societies and conflicts are shaped by its use. Tread carefully, and try not to start a war. A grin split Thor's bearded face. When have I ever been anything but diplomatic, father? Odin's weary sigh spoke volumes, but he waved his son away with a resigned gesture. As Thor strode from the throne room, Heimdall turned to follow. One more thing, Heimdall, Odin said. What is happening in this boy's world? Why does he fight? The guardian's golden eyes grew distant as he once again peered across the cosmos. They are in the midst of a trial, what they call the Chunin exams, to determine which of their young warriors are ready for greater responsibility. But beneath this, darker currents flow, an ancient evil stirs, wearing the skin of a man called Orochimaru, who seeks both the boy and the power he now wields. Odin nodded thoughtfully. Keep watch over this situation. If Thor requires assistance, he need only call for Heimdall, and you will open the Bifrost to bring him home. As the guardian departed, Odin remained standing, his aged face troubled as he gazed into the portal still showing Naruto Uzumaki. What game are you playing now, Fate? he murmured to the empty throne room. And what role does this child have in the cosmic balance? The portal shimmered once more before dissolving into motes of light, leaving the All-Father alone with his thoughts, and the weight of 9 realms upon his shoulders. Back in the mortal world, Naruto stood on the balcony, watching the final preliminary match with only half his attention. Stormbreaker felt unusually warm in his grip, and for a moment, just a fleeting instant, he could have sworn he heard distant thunder that matched the rhythm of his heartbeat. A storm was brewing, both literally and figuratively, and it was heading straight for Konoha. The month between the preliminaries and the Chunin exam finals stretched before Naruto like an eternity. With Kakashi focused on training Sasuke, who would be facing Gaara in the first round, Naruto found himself at loose ends, at least until a strange white-haired man with red facial markings caught him peeping at the women's bathhouse. "Perverted old man!" Naruto had shouted, brandishing Stormbreaker. "What kind of example are you setting?" To his surprise, the man had merely raised an eyebrow at the axe before introducing himself with an elaborate kabuki pose. "I am the great toad sage of Mount Maiboku, the gallant Jiraiya." He grinned, seemingly unbothered by Naruto's accusation. "And you, kid, are carrying something that doesn't belong in this world." Now, 3 weeks into their training regimen, Naruto stood atop a high cliff overlooking a deep ravine. Jiraiya leaned against a nearby boulder, arms crossed as he observed his pupil. "Again," the sage commanded. "And this time, try to direct the lightning in a spiral pattern. Control is just as important as power." Naruto nodded, raising Stormbreaker above his head. The sky above, already dark with gathering clouds, rumbled in response. The connection between him and the axe had grown stronger with each passing day. Now he barely needed to think about what he wanted before Stormbreaker responded. Lightning split the sky, a jagged bolt striking the axe head with a thunderous crack. Instead of simply channeling it outward as he'd done during his match with Kiba, Naruto concentrated on shaping the electricity, visualizing a spiral much like his Rasengan, another technique Jiraiya had begun teaching him, though he'd yet to master it. The lightning obeyed, spiraling out from Stormbreaker in a controlled helix that painted the ravine in brilliant blue-white light before dissipating into the air. "Better," Jiraiya acknowledged with a nod. "You're learning to work with the axe rather than just letting it guide you." "That's good progress." Naruto lowered Stormbreaker, chest heaving from exertion. Despite the power it granted him, wielding the axe's abilities still drained his chakra significantly. "Pervy Sage," he panted, using the nickname that never failed to make Jiraiya twitch. "You still haven't told me how you know about Stormbreaker, or why you think it doesn't belong here." Jiraiya's expression grew serious, a rare sight that always made Naruto pay closer attention. "Because I've spent my life studying the lore and legends of our world and others," the sage replied, pushing off from the boulder to approach his student. "And nowhere in any scroll or tale from any hidden village or temple is there mention of a weapon like that." He gestured to Stormbreaker. "The metal it's made from isn't found on this planet. The markings aren't in any language known to our scholars. And the energy it channels isn't pure lightning chakra. It's something older, more primal. Something from beyond our world." Naruto glanced down at the axe, its surface gleaming despite the overcast sky. "So where did it come from? And why did it appear to me?" "That," Jiraiya said with a wry smile, "is the million-real question. But I have a theory." He poked Naruto's stomach, right where the seal containing the 9 tails was located. "It might have something to do with your tenet. Beings of immense power often recognize each other across dimensions. It's possible that whatever force created Stormbreaker sensed the 9 tails within you and was drawn to that power." Naruto frowned, not entirely satisfied with this explanation. "But the axe doesn't feel malicious like the 9 tails does when its chakra leaks out. It feels protective. Like it chose me specifically, not what's inside me." "Perhaps," Jiraiya conceded. "In any case, you need to master its power before the finals. The other villages have taken notice of your performance in the preliminaries. You won't just be fighting Niji Hyuga in the first round. You'll be representing Konoha's strength on an international stage." Naruto nodded solemnly. His match against Niji, the Hyuga prodigy who had brutally defeated Hinata and spouted fatalistic nonsense about inescapable destiny, was highly anticipated. Many consider Neji the favorite despite Naruto's mysterious new weapon. I won't let anyone down, Naruto promised, gripping Stormbreaker tighter. I'll show everyone what I can. He broke off as a strange sensation washed over him. The hair on his arms stood on end, and Stormbreaker suddenly thrummed with energy so intense it nearly vibrated out of his grip. Jiraiya tensed, sensing the change. What is it? I don't know, Naruto answered, raising the axe defensively. But Stormbreaker is reacting to something. Something big. The storm clouds overhead, which had been building naturally throughout their training session, now churned with unnatural speed. A vortex formed at their center, lightning flashing within its depths with increasing frequency. That's not a normal storm, Jiraiya muttered, moving to stand protectively near Naruto. Get ready for. His warning was cut short as a massive bolt of lightning shot from the heart of the vortex, striking the ground 50 yards from where they stood with such force that the earth itself shook. Thunder rolled across the landscape like the battle drums of giants, so loud it momentarily deafened them both. When the light faded and sound returned, a figure stood at the center of a scorched circle of earth. He was tall and powerfully built, with broad shoulders and muscular arms. Long golden hair framed a bearded face that might have been considered handsome if not for its current stern expression. Most striking, however, was his attire. Unlike anything seen in the shinobi world, he wore armor of a design both alien and regal, with a flowing red cape that billowed in the electrically charged air. In his right hand, he held a massive hammer that crackled with the same energy that Stormbreaker channeled. The stranger's gaze locked onto Naruto, or more specifically, onto the axe in his hands. So, the man's voice boomed like distant thunder. You are the mortal who wields Stormbreaker. Jiraiya stepped partially in front of Naruto, his casual demeanor completely gone, replaced by the bearing of a Sannin ready for combat. And who might you be, appearing so dramatically on Konoha territory? The stranger looked momentarily surprised, as if unused to being questioned, before a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes curved his lips. I am Thor Odinson, Prince of Asgard, God of Thunder. He raised his hammer slightly. And I have come for what belongs to me. Naruto felt Stormbreaker pulse in his hands, almost like a heartbeat quickening in recognition. The axe seemed to be straining toward the stranger, toward Thor, as if magnetically drawn to the hammer he carried. This axe? Naruto asked, though he already knew the answer. Stormbreaker belongs to you. Thor took a step forward, and Jiraiya tensed further. It is a weapon of Asgard, forged in the heart of a dying star, imbued with power that no mortal was meant to wield. It is the sister weapon to Mjolnir, my hammer. His expression softened slightly as he observed Naruto more closely. Though I must admit, you have handled its power better than I would have expected, young one. He's not just any mortal, Jiraiya interjected, his tone cautious but firm. And before you make demands, perhaps we should discuss this situation civilly. If you truly are who you claim to be, you're a long way from home. Thor hesitated, then lowered his hammer to his side, though Naruto noticed he didn't relax his grip on it entirely. Very well, the Asgardian conceded. My father counseled diplomacy, and I would be remiss to ignore his wisdom so quickly. Jiraiya nodded, though he remained alert. There's a clearing not far from here with shelter in case this storm, which I'm assuming is partially your doing, decides to break. We can talk there. Thor glanced up at the churning clouds and waved his free hand dismissively. The vortex began to dissipate, the thunderheads dispersing until only a light overcast remained. The storm will hold for now, he stated matter-of-factly, as if controlling weather was as simple as tying one's shoes. Naruto stared at the display with undisguised awe. That was awesome! Can you teach me to do that with Stormbreaker? Jiraiya sighed, while Thor looked momentarily taken aback by the enthusiastic response. The god of thunder studied Naruto with renewed interest. You're an unusual mortal, he observed, his stern demeanor cracking slightly. Most men would cower before a god appearing in thunder and lightning. Naruto shrugged. I've seen weirder stuff. Besides, if you wanted to hurt us, you'd have done it already. He patted Stormbreaker's handle. And this axe seems to know you, so you can't be all bad. A surprised laugh burst from Thor's chest. Well reasoned, young warrior. What do they call you? Naruto Uzumaki, he replied with his trademark grin. Future Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village. Hokage? Thor echoed, the foreign term sitting awkwardly on his tongue. The leader of our village. Jiraiya explained, relaxing marginally as the tension eased. Now about that shelter. The three made their way to a small pavilion that overlooked the training grounds, a place where Chunin instructors often observed their students from a distance. Once seated, Thor planted Mjolnir beside him, while Naruto reluctantly laid Stormbreaker on the table between them. So, Jiraiya began. You claim to be the god of thunder from a realm called Asgard. And you've come for this weapon because Stormbreaker is one of Asgard's most powerful artifacts. Thor replied solemnly. Its disappearance was concerning not only for the loss of such a weapon but for what it might mean if it fell into the wrong hands. It was forged to be a weapon worthy of a king of Asgard, capable of channeling the Odin force itself. Naruto leaned forward, blue eyes bright with curiosity. The Odin force? What's that? The power of my father, Odin All-Father. Thor explained, his voice dropping to a reverent rumble. The energy that sustains the 9 realms and holds back the darkness that would consume all of creation. A mere fraction of it could level your mountains or boil your oceans. Jiraiya whistled low. And you're saying this weapon? He gestured to Stormbreaker. Can channel power of that magnitude? In the right hands, yes. Thor's gaze fixed on Naruto with renewed intensity. Which makes it all the more remarkable that this young warrior can wield it without being obliterated. Most mortals would be consumed by its power the moment they touched it. Naruto puffed out his chest. Well, I'm not most people. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm going to be Hokage, yes, you mentioned. Thor interrupted with the hint of a smile. Your confidence reminds me of myself in my younger days. The smile faded as he reached towards Stormbreaker. But the fact remains, this weapon belongs in Asgard. As his fingers neared the axe, Stormbreaker suddenly pulsed with blue light. The pavilion filled with the scent of ozone, and both weapons, hammer and axe, began to vibrate as if communicating with each other. Interesting, Thor murmured, withdrawing his hand. It seems Stormbreaker has formed a bond with you, Naruto Uzumaki. This is unexpected. Jiraiya leaned back, stroking his chin. What exactly does that mean? Thor frowned, his brow furrowing beneath his golden hair. It means my mission has become more complicated. I was sent to retrieve Stormbreaker and return it to Asgard. But if the axe has truly chosen this boy as its wielder, attempting to separate them could have dangerous consequences. Dangerous how? Naruto asked, instinctively placing a protective hand on Stormbreaker's handle. The weapon might resist, Thor explained. And in that resistance, it could release enough energy to destroy everything within a considerable radius. Or it could injure you in ways beyond physical harm, ways that affect the very essence of what makes you who you are. Jiraiya's expression darkened. That sounds suspiciously like it might affect the seal. Thor raised an eyebrow. Seal? A heavy silence fell over the pavilion. Naruto looked to Jiraiya, who gave him a small nod, permission to reveal what was normally kept secret from outsiders. I have a powerful being sealed inside me, Naruto explained, patting his stomach. The nine-tailed fox, a demon that nearly destroyed our village the day I was born. My father sacrificed his life to seal it within me. Understanding dawned on Thor's face. Ah, now I see why Heimdall spoke of your burden. You are a vessel for a power beyond your own, a guardian who contains chaos so that others may live in peace. The compassion in Thor's voice caught Naruto off guard. Throughout his life, those who knew of the Nine Tails had reacted with fear, hatred, or, at best, cautious acceptance. Never with this immediate understanding. Yeah, I guess that's one way to put it, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his neck. In Asgard, Thor continued, we have a name for such guardians, Einherjar, the honored protectors who stand at the boundaries of destruction so that the realms may thrive. It is a noble calling, if a difficult one. Naruto blinked, taken aback by the respect in the god's tone. Before he could respond, however, Thor abruptly stood, Mjolnir flying to his hand with a mere twitch of his fingers. Someone approaches, he announced, turning toward the forest. Someone powerful. Jiraiya was on his feet in an instant, extending his senses outward. His expression shifted from concern to recognition, then to mild annoyance. It's alright, he sighed. It's just me. A green blur burst from the tree-line, resolving into the distinctive form of Might Guy, Konoha's self-proclaimed noble green beast. He struck a dynamic pose, teeth gleaming in the overcast light. I sensed an unusual surge of youthful energy and came to investigate. His eyes widened as they fell upon Thor, taking in the Asgardian's otherworldly appearance and the hammer crackling with electricity in his grip. Aha! Guy exclaimed, shifting instantly into a combat stance. An intruder with extraordinary power. Fear not, young Naruto. Jiraiya-sama. I shall protect you with the full blossoming of my youthful strength. Thor stared at the newcomer in utter bewilderment, hammer half raised. What manner of warrior is this? Jiraiya pinched the bridge of his nose. Guy, stand down. He's not an enemy, at least not at the moment. We're in the middle of a diplomatic discussion. Guy straightened but remained visibly tense, his unusually serious eyes evaluating Thor with the keen insight that lay beneath his flamboyant exterior. A diplomatic discussion with a man who arrived in a lightning storm, wielding a hammer that radiates more power than a Kaige's full chakra reserve? Guy's voice lost some of its bombastic quality. Forgive me if I remain cautious, Jiraiya-sama. Thor lowered Mjolnir slightly, a grudging respect dawning in his expression. Your instincts do you credit, Green Warrior. Not many would stand so readily against an unknown power to protect their comrades. Guy offered a curt nod before his gaze shifted to Stormbreaker, still resting on the table. This weapon, it matches the description Kakashi gave of what Naruto used in the preliminaries. The one that allowed him to channel lightning without hand signs. It's called Stormbreaker. Naruto explained, rising to stand beside Guy. And this is Thor. He's, kind of its original owner, a god of thunder from another realm. Jiraiya added dryly, clearly enjoying Guy's widening eyes. Just another day in the life of Naruto Uzumaki, troublemaker extraordinaire. Guy blinked several times, processing this information with remarkable adaptability. Then, to everyone's surprise, he burst into booming laughter. Magnificent! He declared, giving Thor a thumbs up. Truly, the will of fire burns even across dimensions. To think that our young Naruto has attracted the attention of divine beings. My eternal rival Kakashi will be devastated to have missed this historic meeting. Thor's bewilderment deepened, but a smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. Your realm harbors some unique personalities, Naruto Uzumaki. The moment of levity was shattered by a sudden, violent tremor that shook the pavilion. Birds erupted from the surrounding trees, their panicked calls filling the air as a second, stronger quake rolled across the landscape. What was that? Naruto gasped, steadying himself on the table. Jiraiya's expression had turned grim. Trouble, he said simply, turning toward Konoha. Even from this distance, they could see a plume of smoke rising from the village walls. The finals aren't for another week, Naruto protested. What's going on? Thor raised Mjolnir, the hammer beginning to spin in his grip, gathering energy. Your instincts were right, Toad Sage. This meeting has been observed, and someone has decided to act before we could conclude our business. A third tremor, more powerful than the previous two, sent cracked spiderwebbing across the pavilion's stone floor. In the distance, an enormous three-headed snake reared up above the village walls, its scales gleaming in the afternoon light like poisoned armor. Orochimaru. Jiraiya spat the name like a curse. Guy was already moving, green blur streaking toward the village. I must find my students. Thor looked to Jiraiya, the god's eyes flashing with lightning. It seems our diplomatic discussion will have to wait. Your village is under attack. Naruto snatched up Stormbreaker, the axe humming eagerly in his grip, already calling to the storm clouds that had begun regathering overhead. Then what are we waiting for? He growled, eyes flashing with determination. Let's go show this snake freak what happens when you mess with the Leaf Village. Thor grinned, the expression transforming his stern features into something fierce and primal. He spun Mjolnir faster, electricity crackling around him in a blue-white corona. I begin to see why Stormbreaker chose you, Naruto Uzumaki. He rumbled. Very well. Let us face this enemy together. God and mortal, hammer and axe. With a thunderous crack, the sky split open above them, and the god of thunder took to the air, Naruto tucked securely under his free arm. Jiraiya watched them soar toward Konoha for a moment before shaking his head. "This day just keeps getting more interesting," he muttered before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. The invasion of Konoha had begun, and with it, a clash of powers beyond anything the shinobi world had ever witnessed. Chaos had claimed Konoha. The village streets transformed into battlegrounds as shinobi from sound and sand poured through breaches in the defensive wall. Civilians scattered like leaves in a hurricane, shepherded toward shelter by Chunin squads while Jonin engaged the invaders with lethal efficiency. The air crackled with jutsu, fire, water, earth, and lightning colliding in explosive displays of elemental fury. Above it all, the massive three-headed snake continued its rampage, crushing buildings beneath its colossal bulk. The NBU operatives darted around it like wasps, their attacks barely penetrating its armored scales. Thor descended from the sky like a meteorite, Mjolnir extended before him, Naruto still clutched securely under his arm. Lightning preceded their landing, striking the central head of the summoned serpent with such force that the creature reeled backward, hissing in pain and confusion. They touched down atop the Hokage Tower, the impact sending cracks through the roof tiling. Thor released Naruto, who stumbled slightly before regaining his balance, Stormbreaker humming eagerly in his grip. "Whoa!" Naruto breathed, taking in the devastation spreading across his beloved village. Anger swelled within him, hot and sharp. "They're going to pay for this. Indeed they shall." Thor agreed, his cape billowing dramatically as he surveyed the battlefield with the practiced eye of a warrior who had seen countless wars across the cosmos. "But first, we must understand their strategy. No army attacks without purpose." As if in answer to his statement, a purple barrier suddenly materialized atop the arena where the Chunin exam finals were to be held. Inside, barely visible from their position, two figures faced off. One, the third Hokage in his battle attire. The other, the pale form of Orochimaru, now wearing the robes of the Kazekage. "Gigi!" Naruto cried, recognizing the Hokage even at this distance. "Orochimaru's after the old man." Thor's expression darkened. "Your leader against this serpent sorcerer? Then that is where we should." His words cut short as a shadow passed overhead. They looked up to see a massive clay owl with two figures perched upon it, one hunched and broad-shouldered, the other slender with long blonde hair partially covering his face. "Akatsuki," Naruto hissed, recognizing the black cloaks adorned with red clouds from Jiraiya's warnings. "They're after Jinchuriki like me." The slender figure on the owl leaned forward, a maniacal grin visible even from below. "Look, Sasori, my man! There he is, the Nine-Tails kid! And what's this? He's got a friend with a cape. How artistically dramatic. Focus, Deidara," the hunched figure growled. "We have our orders. Capture the Jinchuriki while the village is distracted. Nothing more." Thor stepped in front of Naruto, Mjolnir raised. "You seek this boy? Then you must go through the son of Odin first." Deidara laughed, the sound carrying on the wind. "Listen to him, Sasori. Son of Odin. These leaf ninjas have quite the theatrical allies, He reached into a pouch at his side, his hand emerging with what appeared to be a small clay bird. "Let's see how this son of Odin handles my art." The clay creation grew larger as he tossed it downward, wings extending as it dive-bombed toward Thor and Naruto. The god of thunder merely smirked, swinging Mjolnir in a casual arc that intercepted the clay bird midair. The resulting explosion rocked the tower, but Thor stood unmoved, not a hair out of place. "Impressive fireworks," he called up to the stunned Akatsuki members. "But hardly worthy of the term art. Deidara's visible eye widened in fury. "Not art? I'll show you art, you cake buffoon. Art is an explosion." He flung both hands outward, releasing a flock of clay birds that swarmed toward the tower like guided missiles. Naruto stepped up beside Thor, Stormbreaker held high. "I've got this," he shouted, channeling his chakra into the axe. The weapon responded instantly, crackling with blue-white energy that spread to encompass both Naruto and Thor in a protective dome. The clay birds detonated against this barrier, their explosions merging into one massive fireball that engulfed the rooftop. When the smoke cleared, Thor and Naruto stood unharmed, the latter grinning fiercely despite the sweat beading on his forehead from the exertion. "Not bad, young warrior," Thor commended, genuine approval in his tone. Sasori's hunched form shifted atop the clay owl. "This is becoming troublesome, Deidara. They are stronger than anticipated." "Stronger?" Deidara scoffed, though uncertainty had crept into his voice. "I'm just warming up. Watch this, He thrust both hands into his clay pouches. But before he could form his next attack, a voice rang out from behind them. "Dynamic entry!" A green blur shot through the air, delivering a devastating kick to Deidara's head that sent the explosive expert tumbling from his clay mount. Might Guy landed on the owl's back, facing Sasori with a grim smile. "Your unyouthful attack on our village ends now," he declared, falling into his strong fist stance. Sasori's hunched form seemed to chuckle, the sound hollow and unnatural. "One of Konoha's beasts. This day grows more interesting." Below, Deidara had recovered midair, forming a smaller clay bird that caught him before he could crash into the streets. He circled back up, blood trickling from his mouth, his visible eye blazing with fury. "You'll pay for that, you green monstrosity." "My art will." His threat was cut short as a massive bolt of lightning struck him directly, the force sending him spiraling into a nearby building. Thor lowered Mjolnir, satisfaction evident in his expression. "Less talk, more battle." The Asgardian suggested to the air where Deidara had been. Naruto grinned, but the expression faltered as he glanced toward the arena where the purple barrier still gleamed ominously. "We need to help the old man. He can't face Orochimaru alone." Thor followed his gaze, then nodded decisively. "Your mentor Guy can handle these art-obsessed warriors. Our strength would be better used aiding your leader." He extended an arm. "Brace yourself, Naruto Uzumaki. We fly again." Before Naruto could respond, Thor's hammer was spinning, and they were airborne once more, soaring over the embattled village toward the arena. Below them, the three-headed snake continued its rampage, now engaged in battle with a massive white-haired toad wielding a tanto. Jiraiya had summoned Gamabunta to the fight. As they approached the barrier, Naruto spotted 4 figures maintaining it from each corner, sound ninja with distinctive markings on their faces. AMBU operatives circled the outside, searching for a way in, but the barrier repelled all attempts at penetration. Inside, the situation looked grim. The third Hokage moved with impressive agility for his age, but Orochimaru had summoned what appeared to be coffins onto the rooftop. 3 wooden boxes with elaborate seals covering their surfaces. 2 had already opened, revealing figures that made Naruto's blood run cold. The reanimated forms of the first and second Hokages, brought back from death to fight against their successor. "This is bad," Naruto hissed as Thor hovered above the barrier. "Those are the previous Hokages. Orochimaru's using some kind of forbidden jutsu to control them." Thor studied the scene with narrowed eyes. "Necromancy. A coward's tactic." He raised Mjolnir. "Stand back, Naruto. I shall break this barrier. Wait." Naruto grabbed Thor's arm, his expression urgent. "Those ANBU have been trying everything, and it's help. We need to take out the 4 ninja maintaining it. They're the anchor points." Thor's eyebrows rose slightly, impressed by the tactical assessment. "Well reasoned. Then let us divide our efforts. I shall take the 2 on the north and east. You handle the south and west." They separated, each plummeting toward their targets with weapons raised. Thor struck with all the subtlety of a thunderbolt, Mjolnir crashing down onto the barrier near the northern corner with such force that, while it didn't break through, the impact sent concussive waves rippling along its surface, momentarily disrupting the chakra flow and staggering the sound ninja maintaining it. Naruto, meanwhile, took a more strategic approach. Landing on the roof adjacent to the southwestern corner, he channeled chakra into Stormbreaker and focused on what the axe had been teaching him about energy manipulation. With precise control that would have made Jiraiya proud, he sent a thin bolt of lightning not at the barrier itself, but at the metal headband of the sound ninja. The targeted precision paid off. Electricity coursed through the metal and into the ninja's body, disrupting his chakra network and causing him to lose concentration. The barrier flickered at that corner, creating a momentary weak point. "Thor!" Naruto shouted across the rooftops. Hit it now! Right where it's weakening. The god of thunder didn't hesitate. With a battle cry that echoed across Konoha like rolling thunder, he brought Mjolnir down at the exact spot Naruto had indicated. The barrier shattered like glass, fragments of purple energy dissipating into the air. Orochimaru's head snapped toward them, his snake-like eyes widening in shock and rage. Impossible! He hissed, recognition dawning as he spotted Naruto with Stormbreaker. You, the third Hokage, battered but unbowed, seized the opportunity, his hands forming seals with practiced speed. Burst style, stone golem jutsu. The rooftop beneath the reanimated Hokages transformed, stone hands erupting upward to grasp at their ankles. The first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, legendary god of shinobi, merely smiled sadly and placed his palm against the stone. Instantly, wood burst from the artificial limbs, shattering them and spreading across the rooftop in a sprawling network of branches and roots. Your skills haven't diminished, Sarutobi. Hashirama's reanimated form said, his voice hollow yet retaining traces of the charisma that had united the shinobi world. But neither have mine. The second Hokage, Tobirama Senju, inventor of countless jutsu, stood silently beside his brother, crimson eyes assessing the newcomers with tactical precision. Water began to coalesce around him, drawn from the very air. Reinforcements, he observed, his tone neutral. One with unfamiliar energy. Not chakra, yet similar in application. Thor landed beside the third Hokage, Mjolnir crackling with electricity. Naruto joined them a moment later, Stormbreaker humming in anticipation. Honored predecessors. The third addressed the reanimated Hokages with a respectful nod. Forgive me, but I cannot allow Orochimaru to use you as his puppets. You must be returned to your rest. Orochimaru laughed, the sound like scales sliding across stone. How touching. A reunion of Hokages, past, present, and... His gaze slithered to Naruto. The one who will never be. Thor studied the pale-skinned shinobi with undisguised disgust. This is your serpent sorcerer? He reeks of death and decay, like the forgotten places beneath Yggdrasil's roots. And who might you be? Orochimaru inquired, head tilting with predatory curiosity. Another of Konoha's secret weapons? Or something more interesting? I am Thor, son of Odin, god of thunder and prince of Asgard. Thor declared, lightning dancing across Mjolnir's surface. And I have seen enough of your villainy this day, serpent. Before anyone could react, Thor hurled Mjolnir directly at Orochimaru. The hammer cut through the air with impossible speed, but Tobirama moved even faster. His hands formed seals in a blur, and a wall of condensed water materialized before Orochimaru, absorbing the hammer's impact in an explosive spray that drenched the rooftop. Mjolnir returned to Thor's outstretched hand as Orochimaru's laughter echoed once more. A god? How fascinating! Perhaps after I've dealt with the Hokage, I'll add your body to my collection of vessels. Naruto stepped forward, Stormbreaker leveled at the snake's Sannin. That's not happening, you creepy bastard! We're taking you down right here, right now, Naruto. The third cautioned. Be careful. These are not ordinary opponents. The first and second possess abilities that change the course of shinobi history. As if to demonstrate this point, Hashirama clapped his hands together. The wooden branches covering the rooftop suddenly animated, shooting toward Naruto, Thor, and the third with lethal intent. Thor met the wooden assault with a sweeping blow from Mjolnir, shattering several branches, while Naruto used Stormbreaker to channel lightning into others, setting them ablaze. The third performed a series of hand signs, exhaling a stream of fire that created a momentary perimeter of protection around them. Impressive teamwork, Hashirama commented, though his reanimated form showed no true emotion. But futile, more wood erupted beneath their feet, forcing them to scatter. Tobirama seized the opportunity, appearing directly behind Naruto in a flash of movement so swift it seemed like teleportation. The flying Raijin. The third gasped, recognizing his mentor's signature technique. Tobirama struck with precision, his water-encased fist aimed at Naruto's spine. But Stormbreaker, acting almost of its own accord, pulled Naruto into a spin that barely avoided the blow. The axe head caught Tobirama's arm, electricity coursing through the water and into the reanimated Hokage's body. Tobirama staggered back, his expression unchanged despite the damage. Dark cracks appeared across his face and arms, revealing the unnatural composition of his reanimated form. But they sealed themselves almost instantly. Edo Tensei, the third explained grimly, joining Naruto's side. They cannot be killed by conventional means. Their bodies regenerate endlessly. Thor landed beside them, cape billowing as he assessed their opponents. Then we must find unconventional means. In Asgard, we have methods for dealing with those who defy death's embrace. Orochimaru's third coffin began to open, the lid sliding back to reveal another figure within. The third's face paled as he recognized the spiky blonde hair and stern features of the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, Naruto's father. No, the third whispered, horror etched into the lines of his aged face. Not him too. Naruto stared at the emerging figure, uncomprehending. He had seen the fourth's face carved into the Hokage monument his entire life, but to see him in person, even reanimated, stirred something deep and unfamiliar within him. Thor glanced between Naruto and the figure emerging from the coffin, his divine perception noting the similarities immediately. This warrior, he is kin to you, Naruto Uzumaki. Kin? Naruto echoed, confusion evident in his voice. What do you mean? Before Thor could elaborate, a strange energy flared from the coffin. The fourth's eyes snapped open, but unlike the blank stares of the first and second, they blazed with autonomous will. His hand shot out, gripping the edge of the coffin as he pulled himself free, not as a puppet, but as a man fighting against invisible chains. The seal, he gasped, his voice strained but unmistakably his own. It's incomplete. He couldn't fully bind me. Orochimaru's confident smile faltered. Impossible! The Edo Tensei was improved upon by the very man you're trying to control. The third finished, hope kindling in his eyes. Minato always was the most brilliant mind of his generation. The fourth Hokage, Minato, stepped completely free of the coffin, his legendary white coat materializing around his reanimated form. His gaze swept the battlefield, assessing the situation with lightning quickness before settling on Naruto. For a moment, everything else seemed to fade away. Father and son, separated by death and secrecy, locked eyes across a battlefield neither had imagined. Minato's expression softened, pride and sorrow mingling in his gaze. Naruto, he said simply, the name carrying the weight of years of unrealized love and unfulfilled promises. Naruto stood frozen, Stormbreaker temporarily forgotten in his grasp. The pieces clicked into place. The similarities Thor had noticed, the way the third always spoke of the fourth with particular reverence when addressing Naruto, the timing of his birth and the Nine-Tails attack. You're my. The moment shattered as Orochimaru, sensing his control slipping, lashed out with his sword of Kusanagi, aiming for Minato's back. The blade never connected. Thor's hammer intercepted it with a resounding clang, the impact sending vibrations through the metal that caused Orochimaru to hiss in pain. A coward strike. Thor growled, electricity crackling around him in a manifestation of his anger. Face your opponents honorably or not at all, serpent. Minato nodded gratefully to Thor before turning his attention back to the battlefield. We can have our reunion later, Naruto. Right now, we need to end this fight. The determination in his father's voice snapped Naruto back to the present. He gripped Stormbreaker tighter, the axe responding with a surge of energy that matched his renewed resolve. Right. Naruto agreed, stepping up beside Thor, the third, and his newly discovered father. Let's finish this. Together, they faced Orochimaru and the reanimated first and second Hokages. A god, a Jinchuriki, and 2 generations of Konoha's greatest leaders, united against a threat that endangered everything they held dear. The true battle for Konoha was about to begin. Lightning split the sky as 4 figures stood against 3 legends and a snake. Formation Delta. Minato commanded, falling naturally into the role of battlefield tactician. Load third, contain Hashirama. I'll handle my teacher. The third nodded sharply, already weaving signs with practiced hands. Minato's gaze shifted to Thor and Naruto, assessing the strange weapon his son wielded with a tactician's precision. The lightning you two generate, can you combine its power? Thor grinned, Mjolnir spinning faster in his grip. A fine suggestion, Yellow Flash. The boy and I shall create a storm these serpents will not soon forget. Orochimaru's face contorted with rage at seeing his perfect plan unraveling. Enough of this farce. He bit his thumb, slamming it to the ground. Summoning Jutsu, triple Rashomon, 3 massive demonic gates erupted from the rooftop, towering barriers of iron and malice designed to withstand any attack. Behind this defense, Orochimaru's hands blurred through seals. You 4 stay there and die together. Reanimation released Jutsu. The first and second Hokages suddenly went rigid, their eyes glazing over completely as Orochimaru relinquished the last vestiges of control, giving their reanimated bodies full autonomy to act on pure battle instinct. More dangerous than puppets. Now they were weapons with the tactical genius of Konoha's founders. Hashirama's hands slammed together, and the entire rooftop transformed into a writhing forest. Massive trees erupted beneath their feet, branches twisting with serpentine precision toward each of the 4 defenders. Wood style, deep forest emergence. The reanimated first intoned, his voice hollow yet commanding. Simultaneously, Tobirama gathered water from the air around him, the moisture condensing into a roiling sphere between his palms. Water style, water dragon bullet. The liquid surged forward, taking the form of a massive dragon that circled through Hashirama's forest, its jaws open wide as it bore down on the group. The third met wood with fire, his chakra flaring as he exhaled a stream of white-hot flames that swept across the approaching branches. Fire style, dragon flame bomb. Minato vanished in a yellow flash, reappearing behind Tobirama with a tri-pronged kunai in hand. But the second was no ordinary opponent. He'd invented the very technique Minato had perfected. Without turning, Tobirama's arms shot backward, water encasing his fist as it caught Minato square in the chest. Predictable. The second murmured, his crimson eyes still vacant. Even in death I remember your movements. Minato skidded backward but recovered with preternatural grace, a slight smile playing at his lips despite the blow. Then perhaps it's time for something unpredictable. He flicked a kunai knot at Tobirama, but high into the air above Thor and Naruto. Understanding flashed in Thor's eyes. Naruto! Your father signals us. Now! Naruto raised Stormbreaker skyward just as Thor thrust Mjolnir upward. Twin bolts of lightning struck their weapons simultaneously, the energy building between them in a crackling sphere of raw power. Combine your strength with mine! Thor commanded, his voice competing with the thunder overhead. Naruto felt Stormbreaker pulling at his chakra, drawing it out and weaving it with Thor's divine energy. The resulting fusion sent shivers down his spine. Not chakra, not Asgardian power, but something entirely new. What are they doing? Orochimaru hissed from behind his Rashomon gates, genuine alarm coloring his tone as he felt the pressure building in the atmosphere. Above them, the sky darkened to an unnatural midnight, clouds swirling in a vortex centered directly over the arena. The air itself seemed to groan under the weight of the gathering storm, electric blue energy crackling between cloud layers. Let the power flow through you. Thor's voice boomed over the atmospheric cacophony. Do not resist it, guide it. Naruto felt his entire body becoming a conduit for something ancient and primordial. The 9 tails stirred within him, not in resistance but in curious recognition of a power that predated even its own existence. Stormbreaker vibrated in his grip, its markings blazing with blue-white light so intense it left after images in the vision of all who beheld it. Whatever you're planning, Orochimaru snarled, it won't penetrate my defenses. He reinforced the Rashomon gates with additional seals, the massive structures groaning as they absorbed more chakra. Minato appeared beside his son in a yellow flash, placing a hand on his shoulder. Naruto, he said urgently, I'm going to mark your axe with my flying Raijin formula. When you release your attack, I'll teleport it past the gates. Naruto nodded, teeth gritted with the effort of containing the building energy. Thor glanced at Minato with newfound respect. A wise strategy, yellow flash. The Thunder God acknowledged. Your son possesses remarkable strength, but his control is still developing. Minato's fingers brushed against Stormbreaker's handle, imparting the complex seal that would allow him to teleport anything it touched. For a breathless moment, the formula glowed amber against the axe's surface before merging with the existing patterns. Ready! Minato confirmed, leaping back to create distance. Thor and Naruto locked eyes, silent understanding passing between them. Together, they brought their weapons down in perfect synchronization, channeling the accumulated power directly at the Rashomon gates. Stormbreaker's judgment! Naruto bellowed, the name coming to him instinctively. For Asgard! Thor's war cry shook the very foundations of the arena. A column of lightning thicker than the largest tree in the forest of death erupted from their combined weapons, so bright that NBU operatives watching from nearby rooftops were temporarily blinded. The third Hokage threw up a hasty earth barrier to shield himself from the backlash, while Hashirama instinctively created a wooden dome around himself and Tobirama. The lightning struck the first Rashomon gate with the force of a meteor impact. Metal shrieked and warped, demonic faces carved into the structure contorting in what almost looked like pain. For one heartbeat, it seemed the defense might hold. Then, in a flash of yellow, Minato appeared directly behind the third gate, his hand extended toward the lightning bolt as if reaching for a lifeline. The teleportation jutsu activated, pulling the entire concentrated beam through space to reappear on the other side of Orochimaru's ultimate defense. The snake Sannin had just enough time for his eyes to widen in comprehension before the full force of God and Jinchuriki's combined power crashed into him. The explosion rocked the entire village. A dome of pure energy expanded outward from the point of impact, vaporizing the remains of the Rashomon gates and searing a perfect circle into what was left of the arena rooftop. When the light faded and vision returned, a smoking crater marked where Orochimaru had stood. But the snake Sannin was not so easily defeated. From the depths of the crater rose a massive white serpent, scales gleaming with unnatural luster, purple markings adorning its broad hood. Orochimaru had abandoned his human disguise, reverting to his true form, or at least the closest approximation his continual experimentation had left him with. Impressive. The serpent hissed, its voice magnified and distorted. But not enough to kill me, I'm afraid. Thor twirled Mjolnir contemplatively. I've slain larger serpents before breakfast, creature. Your size does not intimidate me. Naruto stumbled slightly, the enormous expenditure of chakra taking its toll. Stormbreaker still thrummed in his grip, but its glow had dimmed, needing time to recover from the massive discharge of energy. Minato was at his son's side in an instant. Easy, he cautioned, supporting Naruto with a steady hand. That attack drained you significantly. I'm fine, Naruto insisted, though his breathing came in ragged gasps. Just need a second. The third Hokage joined them, his battle-worn face grim as he assessed the situation. We still have the first and second to contend with. And in that form, Orochimaru is even more dangerous. As if summoned by their mention, Hashirama and Tobirama emerged from the wooden dome, their reanimated bodies showing signs of damage, but rapidly regenerating. Behind them, the massive white serpent that was Orochimaru reared up, fangs glistening with venom. A formidable challenge, Thor acknowledged, electricity still dancing across his armored form. But not an insurmountable one. He glanced at Naruto, who had steadied himself and now stood ready, if somewhat drained. Can you still fight, young warrior? Naruto grinned, that indomitable spirit shining through his exhaustion. Are you kidding? I'm just getting warmed up. The battle resumed with renewed intensity. Hashirama's wood release created a forest of spiked branches that shot toward them with lethal intent, while Tobirama manipulated the ambient moisture into slicing currents of pressurized water. Orochimaru weaved between them, his serpentine form striking with lightning speed whenever an opening presented itself. Thor met the assault head-on, Mjolnir becoming a blur as he smashed through wood and water alike, each impact accompanied by a thunderclap that shook the arena. The third engaged Hashirama directly, his student facing his teacher in a dance of fire, and with that spanned generations of Konoha's history. Minato flickered across the battlefield like a golden phantom, his teleportation jutsu allowing him to appear wherever the danger was greatest. A kunai here, a Rasengan there. His legendary speed had not diminished in death. Naruto fought alongside his newfound father, Stormbreaker guiding his movements with increasing harmony. Where Minato would create an opening, Naruto would exploit it with a precisely aimed lightning bolt. When Naruto drew enemy attention, Minato would strike from behind. It was beautiful and terrible to behold. for warriors of extraordinary capability fighting in perfect concert against opponents that represented the pinnacle of shinobi power. But neither side could gain a decisive advantage. The reanimated Hokages recovered from every blow, while Orochimaru's serpent form proved frustratingly resilient, capable of shedding damaged sections like a molting skin. This stalemate cannot continue, Thor declared during a momentary lull, blood from a shallow cut trickling down his temple, evidence that even a god could be wounded in this conflict. The longer we fight, the more your village suffers, the third nodded grimly. His breathing labored from exertion. Edo Tensei can only be defeated by sealing the reanimated souls or by forcing the caster to release the jutsu. Minato's expression sharpened with sudden inspiration. The Death Reaper seal, he said, his gaze meeting the third's. It could work on all three of them at once. No, the third protested immediately, understanding his successor's meaning. That technique requires sacrificing the caster's soul. I won't allow you to. I'm already dead, Lord Third. Minato reminded him with a sad smile. My soul belongs to the Shinigami already. Perhaps I can bargain with it. One final service in exchange for taking these three as well. Naruto stepped between them, anger flashing in his blue eyes. No way. I just found out you're my father. I'm not losing you again. Emotion flickered across Minato's reanimated features. Pride and sorrow intermingled. Naruto, there may be another way. Thor interrupted, his divine perception sensing something the others could not. The axes, both Stormbreaker and this Kusanagi that the serpent wields. They are not merely weapons, but conduits for power. He turned to Naruto. If we can separate Orochimaru from his blade and bring all three reanimated warriors close enough together, Stormbreaker might be able to disrupt the jutsu at its source. How? Naruto asked, clutching the axe tighter. By creating a tear, a momentary rift between realms. Thor explained. Stormbreaker doesn't just channel lightning, it can open pathways between worlds. If we can create such a tear beneath our enemies, Minato caught on immediately. We could send them somewhere they couldn't return from. At least not easily. The third looked skeptical. Is such a thing possible? Thor nodded solemnly. It is, though not without risk. The tear would be unstable, difficult to control. If we aren't careful, it could expand beyond our intentions. Naruto's face set with determination. I'll do it. Just tell me how. First, Thor said, we must force them into position and separate Orochimaru from Kusanagi. That sword must not follow them through the rift, or he will use it to cut his way back. Minato's mind worked with characteristic speed. I can teleport close enough to disarm him if someone can create a sufficient distraction. Leave that to me. The third declared, straightening despite his fatigue. One last demonstration from my predecessors of why I was chosen to succeed them. Thor placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. And while they maneuver our enemies into position, you and I will prepare Stormbreaker for its most difficult task yet. The plan set, they separated once more, each moving with renewed purpose. The third Hokage advanced toward Hashirama and Tobirama, his hands forming seals so rapidly they blurred. Behold the will of fire that you entrusted to me, he called to his former teachers. Ninja art, pristine battlefield illumination, light erupted from the third's body, a cascade of purifying energy that washed over the rooftop in expanding rings. Where it touched Hashirama's wooden constructs, they dissolved into natural energy. Where it met Tobirama's water techniques, they evaporated into cleansing mists. The reanimated Hokages, recognizing the forbidden technique that sacrificed the user's life force for temporary transcendence, moved to counter it, exactly as the third had anticipated. They drew closer together, combining their formidable abilities into a unified defense. Meanwhile, Orochimaru's serpentine form darted toward the third, sensing an opportunity to eliminate his former teacher once and for all. Kusanagi extended from the serpent's mouth, elongating impossibly as it aimed for the third's heart. Lord Third! Naruto cried in alarm. A yellow flash intercepted the blade mere inches from its target. Minato appeared in midair, his right hand catching Kusanagi just below its hilt, his left pressing a spiraling blue orb directly into the roof of Orochimaru's serpentine mouth. Rasengan! The concentrated chakra drilled into the sensitive tissues, causing Orochimaru to rear back in agony. His jaws reflexively opened wider, allowing Minato to wrench Kusanagi free in a single fluid motion before teleporting away. "Now!" Minato shouted, reappearing beside Thor and Naruto, the legendary sword clutched in his hand. Thor raised Mjolnir, calling down lightning that hurted the disoriented serpent toward the reanimated Hokages. The third, seeing their enemies clustering together, made one final push with his technique, forcing Hashirama and Tobirama back until all three opponents stood within a 10-foot radius. "Naruto!" Thor called, extending his free hand. "With me!" Naruto stepped forward, Stormbreaker humming with anticipation. He placed his hand over Thor's on Mjolnir's handle, while the God of Thunder gripped Stormbreaker's shaft alongside Naruto. "Focus on the space beneath their feet," Thor instructed, his voice resonating with divine authority. "Imagine tearing through the fabric of reality itself, not destroying it, but opening a doorway." Naruto closed his eyes, feeling the combined power of hammer and axe flowing through him. Stormbreaker responded to his intent, its markings shifting and rearranging as if reconfiguring for a new purpose. The air around them thickened, reality itself seeming to bend inward. A low, resonant tone emanated from the weapons, modulating higher until it became a keening wail that set teeth on edge and raised hackles. Beneath the clustered enemies, space began to warp. What started as a slight distortion quickly expanded into a swirling vortex of darkness shot through with veins of cosmic light. A tear in the fabric of reality leading somewhere beyond the comprehension of most mortals. Orochimaru, recognizing the danger too late, tried to flee, his serpentine body elongating as he stretched towards safety. But without Kusanagi to cut through the dimensional forces now gripping him, his escape was futile. "What is this?" he shrieked, genuine fear replacing his usual arrogance. "This isn't possible." The reanimated first and second Hokages showed no emotion as the rift pulled them downward, their forms beginning to unravel as they crossed the threshold between worlds. Hashirama merely raised a hand in a final farewell to his student, while Tobirama's eyes reflected a scientist's fascination even in the face of oblivion. "No!" Orochimaru's scream echoed across Konoha as his massive form was dragged inexorably into the rift. "I will not be denied immortality." With a final, reality-bending shriek, the tear collapsed in upon itself, taking Orochimaru and the reanimated Hokages with it. The implosion released a shockwave that knocked everyone off their feet, scattering them across what remained of the rooftop. For several heartbeats, silence reigned. Then, slowly, the survivors of the incredible battle pushed themselves upright. Did we do it?" Naruto asked, his voice hoarse from exertion. Thor nodded, looking somewhat drained himself. "They have been cast into the void between realms. Not even a being of Orochimaru's resilience can easily find his way back from such a place." Minato approached, still clutching Kusanagi. "The sword should be sealed away," he said. "Even without its master, it remains dangerous." The third Hokage joined them, his technique having faded but leaving him noticeably aged, the toll on his life force evident in the new lines that marked his face. "I'll see to it personally," he promised. "But first," he turned to Naruto, a sad smile touching his lips. "I believe you and your father deserve a moment." Naruto looked at Minato, emotions warring across his expressive face. Joy, anger, confusion, longing. "You're really my dad? Why didn't anyone tell me? Why did you seal the 9 tails in me?" Minato's reanimated form seemed to soften, becoming more human despite its unnatural origins. "I am Naruto. And there's so much I want to tell you, so much I wish I could have been there for." He glanced down at his hands, the paper-like quality of the Edo Tensei becoming more pronounced. "But I don't think we have much time." Indeed, cracks had begun to appear across his reanimated body, golden light spilling from within as the jutsu began to destabilize without Orochimaru's chakra to maintain it. "No," Naruto whispered, reaching out to grasp his father's increasingly insubstantial arm. "There's still so much I need to know." Thor watched the scene with compassion, his divine perspective allowing him to see the threads of fate that connected father and son across the boundary of death itself. He stepped forward, placing a hand on Naruto's shoulder. "Young warrior," he said gently, "I cannot prevent what comes, but perhaps I can slow it." The power of Asgard might grant you a few moments more. Without waiting for a response, Thor raised Mjolnir and channeled a stream of golden energy into Minato's crumbling form. The crack stabilized temporarily, the dissolution slowing to a crawl. "Thank you," Minato said to Thor before turning his full attention to his son. "Naruto, listen carefully. I sealed the 9 tails in you because I believed in you, in your strength, in your spirit. I knew that if anyone could master its power and use it to protect others, it would be my son." Tears tracked down Naruto's whiskered cheeks. "But why did it have to be me? Why did you and Mom have to die?" "Sometimes," Minato said softly, "a Hokage must make impossible choices. I couldn't ask another parent to sacrifice their child if I wasn't willing to trust my own." His hand, growing more transparent by the second despite Thor's intervention, reached out to touch Naruto's face. "Your mother and I loved you from the moment we knew you existed. Our only regret was not being able to watch you grow." He smiled then, a smile so like Naruto's own that it felt like looking into a mirror of what might have been. "But look at you now, fighting alongside gods, wielding a weapon of legend, protecting the village with the same determination that I see in the mirror. You're already surpassing both your parents, Naruto." Minato's form began to dissolve more rapidly, golden particles of light floating upward like embers from a dying fire. "My time is almost up," he said. "But know this, I am proud of you, Naruto. So proud. And somehow, I know your mother is too." With his fading strength, Minato pressed Kusanagi into the third's hands. "Keep this safe," he instructed his predecessor. Then, turning to Thor, "And you, God of Thunder, watch over my son while you remain in this realm. He has greatness in him." Thor bowed his head in solemn promise. "He has proven himself worthy already. I shall honor your request, Yellow Flash." Minato's gaze returned to Naruto one last time, drinking in the sight of the son he had sacrificed everything for. "Remember, Naruto, the will of fire burns strongest in those who fight to protect what they love. Your power comes not from the 9 tails, nor from Stormbreaker, but from your heart." With those words, Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village, dissolved into motes of golden light that ascended into the clearing sky before fading from sight. Naruto stood motionless, tears streaming unchecked down his face, Stormbreaker hanging limply at his side. For once, the boisterous ninja had no words, only the silent grief of a boy who had found and lost his father in the span of a single battle. The third placed a gnarled hand on his shoulder. "He loved you more than life itself, Naruto. Never doubt that." Thor, sensing the deeply personal nature of the moment, stepped back respectfully. His divine senses told him that the battle for Konoha was winding down throughout the village, the invasion forces retreating upon sensing Orochimaru's disappearance from this realm. As the sun broke through the dissipating storm clouds, casting golden light across the battle-scarred village, 3 figures stood in contemplative silence atop the ruined arena. A grieving son, an aged leader, and a thunder god from another world, each lost in thoughts of fathers, sons, and the legacies they leave behind. The invasion of Konoha had been repelled, but at great cost. And for Naruto Uzumaki, wielder of Stormbreaker, the day's revelations would change the course of his life forever. Dawn broke over a wounded but unbroken Konoha. The streets, bloodied and cratered from the invasion, now bustled with activity as shinobi and civilians alike began the process of rebuilding. Medical teams worked tirelessly, treating the injured in makeshift field hospitals. ANBU squads secured the perimeter, wary of any remaining enemy forces. And throughout it all, a palpable sense of relief hung in the air. They had survived. Atop the Hokage monument, far from the bustle below, Naruto sat with his legs dangling over the edge, Stormbreaker resting across his lap. The axe had been uncharacteristically quiet since the battle, as if respecting its wielder's need for silent contemplation. The soft crunch of footsteps on stone announced Thor's arrival. The god of thunder settled beside Naruto, his cape billowing gently in the morning breeze. "Your village shows remarkable resilience," Thor observed, his voice gentler than its usual thunderous timbre. "Already they rebuild, already they look to tomorrow." "It reminds me of Asgard after our many trials," Naruto nodded absently, his fingers tracing the patterns on Stormbreaker's surface. "That's the will of fire that the old man, the third, always talks about." No matter what happens, Konoha stands back up. They sat in companionable silence for a moment, watching the sunrise paint the devastated village in hues of gold and amber. He was a good man, Thor said finally. Your father, Naruto's throat tightened. I barely knew him, yet you fight like him, Thor countered. With the same determination, the same selflessness. Even across the veil of death, his legacy lives in you. The blonde shinobi swallowed hard, blinking back the thread of fresh tears. Did you know your father well? He asked, seeking connection in shared experience. Thor's laugh held no mirth. All too well, perhaps. Odin Allfather has ruled Asgard for millennia, shaping the 9 realms through wisdom and warfare alike. His expression grew distant. Yet for all his power, for all his wisdom, he remains a father, capable of both profound love and profound mistakes. Mistakes like what? Thor considered the question, weighing how much to reveal of Asgard's complicated history to this mortal youth. Like believing that strength alone defines worthiness, he said finally. Like banishing his son to learn humility among mortals when pride blinded him. A rueful smile. I learned much during that exile, as painful as it was. Naruto studied the god's face, recognizing the vulnerability beneath the divine exterior. So even gods have daddy issues, huh? The unexpected observation startled a genuine laugh from Thor. Indeed they do, Naruto Uzumaki. Perhaps that is the one true constant across all realms. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a messenger. A harried-looking Chunin who bowed hastily before delivering his news. Uzumaki-san, Lord Hokage requests your presence at the emergency council meeting. And, he faltered, staring uncertainly at Thor, clearly unsure how to address a divine being. Thor rose to his imposing height, inclining his head graciously. Lead on, warrior of Konoha. We shall attend your leader forthwith. The Chunin's eyes widened at being called warrior, but he recovered quickly and led them down from the monument toward the temporary headquarters established in the academy building, the Hokage Tower having sustained significant damage during the invasion. As they walked through the village, citizens stopped to stare, some at Naruto, whose role in defeating Orochimaru had already become the stuff of whispered legend, but most at Thor, whose divine presence and otherworldly attire made him impossible to ignore. They fear you, Naruto observed quietly. Thor shook his head. Not fear, young one. Ah, there is a difference. I wouldn't know, Naruto replied with unexpected bitterness. Most of my life, I've only seen fear when people look at me. Fear or hatred or disgust. Thor's expression softened with understanding. Because of what you contain, yeah. And yet here you walk, defending the very people who shunned you. That, Naruto Uzumaki, is true worthiness. The god of thunder placed a heavy hand on the boy's shoulder. Perhaps that is why Stormbreaker chose you. Before Naruto could respond, they arrived at the academy. The Chunin led them through halls buzzing with activity to the largest classroom, now converted into an emergency council chamber. Inside, the surviving leaders of Konoha had gathered around a makeshift conference table. Jonin commanders, clan heads, and at the center, the third Hokage, looking every one of his 70-plus years after the toll of battle. All conversation ceased as Thor and Naruto entered, dozens of eyes fixing on the unlikely pair. Ah, Naruto, Thor-sama. The third greeted them, using an honorific rarely applied to anyone outside of daimyos and kages. Please join us. We were just discussing yesterday's events and their broader implications. Thor inclined his head respectfully to the aged leader. Hiruzen Sarutobi. You fought with valor befitting the mightiest of Asgard's Einherjar. Your predecessors would be proud. A sad smile touched the Hokage's lips. Thank you, though I fear my performance showed more the limitations of age than the prowess of youth. On the contrary, Thor countered. In Asgard, it is said that while youth offers strength, age provides wisdom. You displayed both. Danzo Shimura cleared his throat impatiently from his position at the table. As fascinating as these pleasantries are, we have pressing matters to address. His single visible eye fixed on Stormbreaker. Such is the matter of this weapon and its otherworldly origins. Several council members shifted uncomfortably at the directness of the approach. Naruto's grip on Stormbreaker tightened instinctively. Indeed, Thor agreed. seemingly unbothered by Danzo's brusque manner. Stormbreaker is an artifact of Asgard, forged in the heart of a dying star, imbued with power beyond mortal comprehension. And yet, Danzo pressed, it rests in the hands of a Chunin, a child barely out of the academy. Lightning flickered briefly in Thor's eyes, a subtle reminder of his divine nature. It rests in the hands of one it deemed worthy, Council Elder. A judgment that, I have discovered, was remarkably sound. Shikaku Nara, the Jonin commander, leaned forward with the calculated precision that had made him Konoha's premier strategist. Thor-sama, if I may, your arrival came at a fortuitous time for Konoha, and your aid was invaluable. But it raises questions about your intentions now that the immediate threat has passed. A fair inquiry, Thor acknowledged. I came to your realm with a simple mission, to retrieve Stormbreaker and return it to Asgard, where it belongs among our treasures. Murmurs broke out around the table. Naruto's face fell, though he tried to hide his disappointment. However, Thor continued, raising a hand for silence. Circumstances have proven more complex than anticipated. The axe has bonded with Naruto Uzumaki in a manner unprecedented in Asgardian lore. To separate them forcibly would risk consequences I am unwilling to impose. The third Hokage's shrewd eyes narrowed slightly. What are you proposing, Thor-sama? Thor straightened to his full, impressive height. I propose a compromise. I shall remain in your realm for a time, instructing Naruto in the proper use of Stormbreaker's abilities, teaching him to control its power rather than merely channel it. During this period, I will observe the bond between wielder and weapon to determine whether separation is possible or necessary. And how long might this time be? Danzo inquired, skepticism evident in his tone. Until the next convergence of realms, Thor replied. What you might call a planetary alignment, approximately 3 months hence, when the pathways between Asgard and your world naturally strengthen. At that time, I shall make my final determination. The council members exchanged glances, silently evaluating the proposal. Hayashi Hyuga, head of the Hyuga clan, spoke up. While we appreciate your assistance during the invasion, how can we be certain your presence won't attract further extraplanar threats to Konoha? A fair concern, expressed with diplomatic caution. Thor inclined his head respectfully. You cannot be certain, Lord Hyuga, just as you cannot be certain that tomorrow will not bring a new invasion from your earthly enemies. But I give you my word as Prince of Asgard that I shall defend your realm from any threat that follows in my wake. The third Hokage studied Thor thoughtfully before turning to Naruto. And you, Naruto? What are your thoughts on this arrangement? All eyes shifted to the young shinobi, who stood straighter under the scrutiny. I think, he began, then paused, collecting his thoughts. I think Stormbreaker chose me for a reason, and I want to understand why, to learn how to use its power properly. He met the Hokage's gaze directly. Besides, how often does a future Hokage get to train with a god? A few chuckles broke the tension, and even Thor smiled at the boy's indomitable spirit. The third nodded slowly. Very well. Thor-sama, we accept your proposal. You will be granted temporary residence in Konoha, with all the courtesies and considerations due your station. In return, we ask only that you respect our laws and customs while within our walls. Thor placed a fist over his heart in a formal Asgardian salute. You have my oath, Lord Hokage. The matter seemingly settled, the council turned to other pressing concerns. Casualty reports, reconstruction priorities, diplomatic messages to be sent to allied nations explaining the day's events, carefully edited to omit certain divine interventions. As the meeting continued, Naruto found his attention drifting. The events of the past 24 hours swirled in his mind like leaves caught in a whirlwind. Stormbreaker, Thor, the invasion, his father, the fourth Hokage. The man who had sealed the Nine Tails within him, Minato Namikaze. The name felt strange even in the privacy of his thoughts, a shape his mind was still learning to form. For years, he had imagined his parents as faceless entities who had abandoned him. Now, knowing the truth, that his father had sacrificed everything for the village, for him, left Naruto adrift in a sea of complex emotions. You're thinking of him. Thor's voice, lowered to a whisper that still somehow carried the rumble of distant thunder, broke through Naruto's reverie. Is it that obvious? Thor's smile held understanding beyond mortal years. To one who has lost both mother and brother, if temporarily, the look of grief mixed with pride is unmistakable. The council meeting concluded with assignments distributed and responsibilities delegated. As the room began to clear, the third Hokage approached Thor and Naruto. Thor-sama, accommodations have been prepared for you in the diplomatic quarter. What remains of it, at least. I hope they will be suitable for one of your stature. Thor waved away the concern. I have slept beneath stars on 1,000 worlds, Lord Hokage. Any shelter you provide will be more than adequate. The third's gaze shifted to Naruto. And you, my boy. How are you holding up after everything that's happened? Naruto managed a weak smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. I'm okay, Gigi. Just a lot to process, you know? The aged Hokage nodded, compassion evident in his lined face. Indeed. Which is why I believe some time away from the village might benefit you both. Away? Naruto echoed, confusion evident. But the village needs help rebuilding, and the village will rebuild, the third assured him. But the opportunity for you to train with Thor-sama, to master Stormbreaker in a controlled environment, is too valuable to squander. He produced the scroll from his robes. This is a mission assignment, officially, a training journey to the monasteries on Mount Kurama, where the thin air and isolation will provide ideal conditions for chakra control exercises. And unofficially? Thor inquired, one eyebrow raised. The third's eyes twinkled with a hint of their usual mischief. Unofficially, it's a chance for a god and a Jinchuriki to explore the full potential of an Asgardian weapon without leveling half of Fire Country in the process. Naruto couldn't help but laugh at the frank assessment. Fair enough, Gigi. You're not going alone, of course. The Hokage continued. Jiraiya will accompany you, both as Naruto's godfather and as someone with extensive knowledge of sealing techniques. Should Stormbreaker's power prove problematic for the Nine-Tails seal, Thor nodded approvingly. The Toad Sage is a worthy companion. His wisdom rivals that of Asgard's scholars, though his other proclivities might raise eyebrows in Odin's court. This drew another laugh from Naruto. That's putting it mildly. The third smiled at the camaraderie already forming between the unlikely pair. You'll depart tomorrow at dawn.